Okay, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the second day of our Literacy Leadership Institute. I think we're in for a treat this morning as we talk about Google Analytics and using analytics to help improve your program outreach. So I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie to introduce our presenter. Stephanie?
Much appreciated, Greg. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to introduce today Jen Hauser, the founder and president of Creative Springs, a Florida-based creative and strategic marketing agency. Jen leads her team in creative and strategic work to grow brands and propel businesses forward. Her career has evolved from merchandising at Target Corporation in Minneapolis to helping build event staffing agency in New York. Whether she is creative directing a video shoot or analyzing and proposing a new digital strategy for her clients, her joyful and innovative approach to collaboration helps the Creative Springs team produce purposeful and vision-driven work. So excited to have you go ahead and start. If you want to get your, we'll taking a quick look at that agenda for today, and if you'd love to take over the screen and share your presentation, go for it, Jen.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you need to unshare. It says
Gotcha.
Okay, now I should be able to.
Beautiful.
All right. Can everyone see?
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I was looking at the agenda of what you guys have been talking about the last couple of days, and it looks like you've had a very robust meeting, and today is no different. So I'm really honored to come and get to speak with you guys a little bit about what I know, which is digital marketing and how to build a strategy that can help you reach your audience, and then looking at those analytics to help you make really good decisions that will propel your brand and just keep you connected with the people that you want to be connected with. So I'm Jen Hauser, and I'm the founder and president of Creative Springs. And I wanted to just kick this off with just share a little bit about our agency and what we do. So we are, I would say, a consulting agency first. We meet with our clients and we really want to understand their audiences, where they're at with their marketing and their needs. And then we, offer an array of services from branding, digital marketing, web development, all with the goal of igniting creativity and empowering brands. So today you'll see a little bit of that consulting side. The folks on my team are really passionate about teaching and educating. So when you meet with us as a client, you learn a lot along the way. And so I'm hoping that you guys can leave with some really good knowledge. And I will say this too at the end, if you guys want this PowerPoint presentation, I do have a lot of links in here that are like tips and tricks or video tutorials that I put in here. I'm so happy to send this to you as a resource. It's a lengthy deck, but so if you want to hang with me as I'm going through it and then digest it later, I'd be more than happy to send this presentation to you as a resource. All right, so let's get into, so when I start these presentations, I always like to know like who's speaking to me and who's presenting. So I'll just give you a little bit of background, and Stephanie went through that a little bit, but my career, I started at Target. You can see I'm the blonde poof in the middle here. I'm a singer and a musician, and so I was a part of the choir at Target. It was a blast. We got to perform all at different events, corporate events, and different things. And in my time at Target, I learned a ton about large project management and operational teams. My cross-functional team was 70 some people at any given time. It was massive, and so fantastic learning experience. And from there, I moved to New York City, and I worked for a 8-person agency called Staffed Inc. And we did all kinds of experiential marketing activation, so pop-up events. This is my very glam, feeling myself, Louis Vuitton photo here. It was an event out on Rodeo Drive. It was a highlight of my time there with Staffed Inc. We got to, we did a couple rounds of New York Fashion Week that I was on site and staffed that event. Target was actually our client, and it was fantastic. And that's where I fell in love with agency and working with small teams and working with clients specifically, which brought me to Creative Springs. And so I've been here for over 3 years now, and it's been fantastic. What I think I love most about it is that digital marketing is where I see so much success with our clients, because it is adaptable, you can change quickly, you can learn, you can iterate. And so I feel like the impact that we get to have on the businesses we work with and the organizations, nonprofits, they see such high impact, and it doesn't have to be a crazy spend. It doesn't have to be, this master campaign. It can be really, really tangible, hands-on things that just make a world of difference. So we've had a fantastic run. And yes, that's a little about me. On the personal side, I got married just over a year and a half ago to my very sweet husband, Andy. And the best highlight ever is that we're actually expecting. So I'm 4 months along. We're due end of November, and couldn't be more excited. Life has just been so good and blessed in this season. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. Thank you for the celebration there. All right, y'all, let's get into some digital marketing content. It's 9:07 and we are going to get pretty deep into this. So I'm really excited. So what are we covering today? We're going to start I want to walk through a marketing and a sales funnel. And I want to start there because it is so grounding when you are setting up a strategy or you're looking at what marketing tactics that you are running currently or that you want to run. If you can ground yourself in a funnel and know what you can expect out of that tactic that you're running, I think you're going to have way more success. So we're going to just ground ourselves in that. And then we'll start looking at those individual digital tactics that you can put into play and how you can use each of those. We'll take a brief moment and talk about a call to action and why that is so important all throughout the funnel. I debated keeping this in because it's kind of a side tangent, but I just think it is so important that I just want to give you kind of some nuggets of what I think would be really helpful when you're crafting your call to action. And then we'll look at how you analyze those digital metrics, pivot from what you're seeing and make good decisions. And then I have a case study that we'll go through as an example so that you guys can see kind of this in action, how we do this at our agency. What I will say is I will pause at the end of each of these sections. I'll have a slide that says questions or comments. And so Stephanie, I'll let you track. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. So we will have a couple points of conversation throughout this. So please, let's make this interactive. Ask your questions. I'm an open book. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. So with that, let's talk about a marketing and sales funnel. All right, so this is just a classic funnel. There's lots of different marketing funnels and they can get pretty convoluted. But I think what's really helpful to think about is that when you are trying to reach your audience or a new audience, it's always going to start with awareness. They need to know you exist. Then they need to consider you, which is why you are the other guys. And then that's that point of conversion or where that call to action comes to play, where you actually get their information and connect with them. And then at the bottom, I like to include loyalty, and we'll talk about what that means. So when we look at brand awareness, this is how well people are going to know and recognize your brand. So, in marketing, we talk about that marketing rule of 7. You need your audience to see you at least 7 times. And the number, some say more, some say less. I think 7 is a really good, achievable number to go after, where they can actually feel like you are who you say you are. You're a trustworthy brand. You're going to do what you say you're going to do. All of those things start happening when they see you in these different places. So your brand awareness, you're going to have there's a lot of different tactics that come to play. So there's some thought leadership tactics. You can be writing blogs and giving information. You can do speaking awareness. Now, I hope you all are aware that Creative Springs exists. You can host a podcast, do press releases, all around the idea of you are giving information, you're giving knowledge away, you're giving your audience something. That is thought leadership, is that you are an expert in your field and you're giving knowledge to the people that need that knowledge. Then we do things like culture highlights. So this is where social media comes into play, showing, not just what you do or the services you offer, but actually, who are the people that do that and who are the people that you serve, and getting behind the scenes with that type of content and getting, a level deeper in your awareness than, we like to, kind of hit people over the head, like we sell this, we offer this. And it's really people want to know who they're going to be working with or who's behind the brand, that's putting that message out there. Email campaigns are great at this point to reach new audiences. And then you can also do, product or service highlights at this point. So this is where you're going to have your display ads, video ads, infographics, and we'll come back to these tactics and talk a little deeper about them. But this is where, TV, radio, not just digital, you can get that awareness through those different, more traditional media tactics as well. All right, next we move into consideration. So this is why you need to be thinking at this point, they know you exist, they've come to your website, or they've called you, they've connected with you, right? Now you're convincing them why you versus the other guys. So this is your call to action starts to become very vital, because you're getting them to go, okay, if I'm going to really reach out, why would I reach out to your organization versus a different organization? Or why should I reach out at all? Do I really need this service or this offering? So that's what you should have in your head, is what are the barriers of someone who needs what I'm offering and I know I can help service them? What are those barriers and how do you address those barriers and getting them to choose you? So things you can do to help overcome those barriers, things like case studies, saying, hey, we've worked with people like this or organizations like this, or we've served in this way and we've had this amount of success. Hosting webinars, again, a lot of what we do is very education based, teaching people, giving them knowledge, information. Again, podcasts are great. You can get really a level deeper into what you're offering in your services this way. Having an FAQ simply on your website, so that if there are some simple questions, right? As you are coming down this funnel, the whole goal is that you start with a really broad audience and they are self-qualifying. So by the time they connect with you, they're qualified, they're ready to go. And so these are, an FAQ is a great way. I mean, I think we've all, been on the other end of the phone or answering all these questions, and it's just so simple, right? And you could have a simple something like a FAQ on your website to help kind of mitigate some of that noise and qualify them better. SEO, so people actually searching for you. So search engine optimization, this is how you get your website to rank higher. And then doing retargeting ads. So they've seen you in the awareness phase and now you follow them and you show them your content again with a bit more information that hopefully is more tailored to them, because you know where they went on your website or which page or what service they were interested in. And now you can serve them content for that specific, if you have multiple services, for that one service that you're offering. And then local citations is very, very important as well. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit, because it's really vital in this process. All right, so now we're at the conversion stage. So this is where you are capturing the contact information of your audience. And this is a really great point where you need to think long-term. So when depending on what your organization does and how you service people, a lot of times it's not a one-time interaction. It'll be ongoing, or they will be repeat customers or repeat clients, or patients, or whatever that might be. So how can you capture information and in a way that you can, maybe you have a CRM, or if not, even an Excel spreadsheet can work great to have information so that you can continue to stay in touch with them in a way that's meaningful and specific versus the blast emails that, we all get that are just super generic. So this is where you want to think, what's information I need to start building a meaningful relationship with them? So the ways you can do this: a landing page, websites, having that phone call with them, sending a personal email, or maybe you have a demo, depending on what you do, are all great ways to capture that information and then get them to actually walk through your doors, purchase your product, take your class, whatever that might be. And then that last part of the funnel is what we call nurture loyalty. So this is where you are in an relationship with your audience. So this is where we talk about things like nurture campaigns. So that information that you captured and that you noted, you are now able to connect with your audience in different segments. So when we think relationship, it sometimes is one-on-one, but it doesn't have to be a one-on-one relationship. It can be, hey, everybody who reached out that has this specific issue or needs this specific product we offer, I can send them content and information that's helpful to them, versus sending another group the same information that they don't need, right? So it lets you be very meaningful with your connection. I'm in digital marketing, so I'm no stranger to the whole, being just blasted and overwhelmed with content that people don't want. So I'm always thinking about how can we challenge ourselves to be meaningful and intentional. And if we're going to serve content or information, have it mean something and have it really add value to the person that you're connecting with. Google reviews are great at this point. It lets your audience speak on the behalf of your organization. So instead of you having to promote, it feels so much better to have somebody else say, "Oh, Creative Springs is fantastic, and they did this for me," and they give that testimonial versus me trying to say the same thing in a different way, right? Coming from one of my clients, it means so much more. And then sharing your success stories. So with that, the grounding in this funnel, why I wanted to start here today is because we're going to talk now through a lot of these digital tactics specifically, and it's really important that you know what you are asking of your tactic. So if you're running a social media post and you're asking it to convert a lead for you, you're asking the wrong thing of that tactic. That's further down the funnel. So you need to think, what point of the funnel am I in, and what am I asking of that tactic and of the metric? Like, what should I be running based on what I'm choosing? So we'll get into tactics next, but I'll pause here. Anybody have questions or comments?
Just to hop in quick and maybe give a little bit of context as well to how our audience can kind of see themselves in this funnel. Something Greg and I have been talking about and working with is volunteer recruitment. So looking at a large audience and trying to whittle it down to people who would be, interested in taking an online training course and potentially tutoring online. Do they have that accessibility? Is that something that, is a qualifier? Or if we're looking at students looking to register for a class, whether it's low language learners that maybe lack some digital literacy and need to see like print ads or things that are a little bit more tangible and in their community, as well as digital spaces, because that's also everywhere, and integrated into different levels, like you're saying, all those different touch points, and the familiarity of building your organization in the community. And we say word of mouth is also so important too, when we have a successful student in graduations, and being able to share those successes as almost proof points that all of this works. Because I know sometimes, or what I've heard a lot from the students is it takes them a couple of tries sometimes of going through ESOL classes to really, get that English teaching to work, and to find a teacher that works with them, things like that. So all of these things where I think we can share teacher stories or, tutor volunteers, and what their experience has been like, what value they've also gained from being able to give the gift of literacy, and success stories of students who have, been able to pursue a career or their GED and things like that. So there's a lot of different ways to apply this to the organizations and our community-based nonprofit teams and things like that are going to put all this in action. So yeah, looking forward to any insight. And I know this is a lot of information, but wanted to help maybe give a little bit of how can we tie this into this fantastic information.
Yeah, thank you. One of the things I think you're hitting on is that loyalty piece of the folks that are your advocates and they've gone through the program and they're now a success story and they're sharing. It kind of restarts a cycle where they're bringing awareness then to new, and that audience that they're reaching is probably within the same target demographic that you're hoping to reach and get into the program, and you can start bringing them in. And so, yeah, that's why I think this loyalty piece of the funnel is so vital. And having that, kick in. So, oh, that's fantastic. Awesome. Any other thoughts or questions? I don't see the chat bar, so if there are, just let me know.
Nothing in the chat yet.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, we'll keep cooking then. All right, so let's get into some of these digital tactics that you all can put into place. So one of the things that is really, really important to think about is being where your audience is. So when you are deciding what tactics to put into play, that's the first question you should ask yourself. I don't know if you guys know Gary Vaynerchuk. He's some people's cup of tea, other people's not. But he always says, you know, if people's attention were on in newspapers, then he would be in newspapers because he is a social media guru. And that's how he, you know, bread and butter. But he says, you know, his audience where he wants to be, they're on social media. So that's where he is. So I show you this slide. This comes from Cube Creative. And it just kind of shows which sites or apps have you used to evaluate local businesses in the past. And you know, I don't think there's anything really shocking or surprising here. Google is number one over the past couple of years, then Yelp, then Facebook is up there, TripAdvisor, Better Business Bureau, Apple Maps, and it goes on down. And so this is all, you know, this is very general, and I believe this is across the US in these years. But there's some great tools that I can share at the end that I have some links to like Statista, and that you can look in your market and see what digital tools are people using in your area or in your demographic. So it's great, great, great to start here, and just know that when you're picking your tactic, be where your audience is. I put a little pro tip in here. I have some of these throughout the presentation. Bright Local is actually a fantastic tool that we use, and it's really low cost. I want to say it's like $30, $60, something like that, one-time cost, and it updates all of your local citations online at one time. And so we use this with our clients when we're starting out to do like a search engine optimization strategy, or making sure that they're ranking locally in the markets they want to be in. So if you haven't used that tool yet, it's very accessible and easy. So I'll give a little plug there. All right, so let's start. We're going to break the talk today into really 3 buckets as we go through. So we're going to talk about websites, and then social media, and then digital ads. Those are really, I think, the 3 big buckets where you need to start when you're building out, you know, your strategy and the tactics. So platforms that are important on the web and app space. So with your website, it's really, really crucial that you are looking at your website as the backbone of your online presence. So, you know, before you start running social media, or you start running ads and you're driving traffic to your website, I would highly recommend you take a really strong look at how your website is doing. One of the easy questions that I'll ask my clients, or you can ask yourself, is, are we getting conversions off of our website? So are we getting leads? Are people putting their information in and connecting with us? Is that a way that we are capturing new audiences? And you know, there's varying degrees of that, but if the answer is majority no, then start looking at these things. How are you positioning your value on your website? Do you have a strong call to action where it's easy to see where to connect with you, how to get in touch with you? Or do you have, you know, the full breadth of what you do, what you offer, how you service your community with those services? You know, and then the next step would be, is your website ranking organically? That's, you know, in the competitive landscape. And are you getting those leads and sales out of it? So, I mean, even, you know, this is foundational. And a good place to start, you know, if you don't have necessarily a full website, or maybe you don't need, you know, the full deal, landing pages can be a fantastic way to capture leads. So a landing page it's a one-off website. It's actually independent of if you have a full website. They're typically for a specific time, a specific place, a specific audience. So think one track mind with the landing page. It's not going to be your catch-all. It is for one of the services you offer, and it is a landing place, or a squeeze page they call them, to capture audiences. So focus just on one goal, on one message, with a really, really strong point to capture information. So these can be, you know, shorter, a bit, you know, I think timeline wise, a bit quicker to get stood up. And so they can be really, really helpful as well. And then apps, you know, I think this is, you know, when you need a bit more advanced features, or you're wanting a lot of ongoing interaction with your audience, it can be a really great tool. They can be a big investment to build if you are starting from scratch, but there's also a lot of really great applications out there that you can buy into and then use as, for your audience and stay connected that way. But I would say as a really good starting point, it's within your website and landing pages. And this is now, we'll start talking about location. So this is your local citation management. So Google Business Profile is absolutely vital to any organization, not just if you're selling something, but your services that you're offering. So your Google Business Profile, when you go to Google and you search for, restaurant near me, and you get that first list of those are your search ads. It says ad and then the restaurant, and right below that is a map, and it has all the businesses listed. That is your Google Business Profile. And so, we know that over, 6 out of 10 consumers use Google Business Profile and that contact information versus even going to the website. So it is super vital that you can update that. We actually treat it like a social media platform. If we're updating, Facebook and Instagram, we're updating Google Business Profile. You can put photographs on there. You can put promotions you're running on there. You can have signups for upcoming classes and link to different things. So it's really like a mini profile. And good news, it's totally free for you to manage. There's no cost other than operating and keeping it updated. So very, very vital in terms of when you look at that marketing rule of 7 and they're seeing on social and they're searching for you and they're getting served an ad, and then they go to Google and they search for you. If you're updated and active on this place, 6 out of 10 times you're going to get their information more so than even getting them to your website. I also was looking up some facts on Google Business Profile, and one said that businesses with 200 or more reviews, which can be a big or a small number, have twice as much revenue as other businesses. So I'm working towards that goal. We do not have that. But it's good to know that people really are validating, and that might be more in the restaurant retail industry, but it's really, people go there to validate you. And so it's really helpful to make sure that that's updated. So some other local citation platforms would be Bing Places for Business. Apple Places on Map is on the rise. We saw that on the list earlier as a place that people are going and searching. Think of yourself as a consumer. You're picking up your phone, they're searching. And what apps are you doing that on? All right, so let's get into social media a little bit here. I put this slide in mostly for the wow factor because it's pretty eye-opening. I think we all know how wide impact social media has, but looking at the amount of time we spend on social media, it's pretty wild. YouTube, we're spending over 21 hours a month. Facebook, we're on Facebook over 15 hours a month. TikTok has been rising over, just about 27 hours a month. And then Instagram and Facebook, 3 to 7 hours here. So talking about being where your audience is, they're on social media. I get asked a lot, actually, like, is Facebook still a thing? Do we need to be on the new platform, and should we be? And my answer is always Facebook is a thing. It has everybody's on it, all age groups, and we'll get into that in a minute here, but all age groups are utilizing it. They're spending their time there. So if you can meet your audience where they are, you're going to have so much more success in what you're doing. So I won't spend a lot of time on these slides because they're long, but I will show you these. It just has some data I put in here of how many people are using these platforms, and then their age group and gender, male, female. So when you're doing your research and you're going, which platforms do I need to be on? Am I LinkedIn? Am I Facebook? Start here and look at, okay, where is my audience? Just the basic demographics being, age, gender, race, location, those types of things. That's a really good indicator because you're going to have a wider net that you can cast in those platforms. Facebook continues to, and Instagram, just huge, right? We're talking billion versus millions. X, and then I put TikTok and YouTube here as well. I think those are like the key social platforms, and new ones are coming up. And one of the things I will say is if a new platform is rising and you want to try it out because your audience is there, typically there can be less competition. And so a platform like Facebook can get really saturated. So you have more noise to deal with, but you have a wider net to cast that you can cast because your audience is there. So, I'll tell you how we approach these platforms so that you can, decide if it's the right fit for you. Facebook, we call it the 800-pound gorilla. It is absolutely necessary. I will tell everyone in this room, you got to be on there and active. I have yet to work with a business where their audience is not active on the Facebook channel. Make sure it's audience-focused content, that you're sharing links and you're using it to build community. I think we all kind of, it's the level one of using Facebook is just putting content out. There's another level of creating a group where you create dialogue and discussions. And once they're in your organization, it's a private group with them, they can have that conversation within there. So it's actually a very robust tool that you can utilize. Instagram, think visual first, right? People are going to Instagram because they want to see beautiful graphics. They want to see behind the scenes. That is why they're going to Instagram. Pinterest, they're going to be inspired, right? LinkedIn, we call this the business casual. So this is where you can share your organization's thought leadership and expertise. And I would say don't get too formal because yes, it's a formal platform and it's a bit, B2B, business to business platform, but people are human on there. They don't become some, hyper CEO version of themselves when they log into LinkedIn. They still are a dad, a mom, they go to their baseball rec league in the evening. So meet them as a human, even on a business, related platform. YouTube, use this as a search platform. This YouTube is one of the highest search engines right after Google. People are going there to get information, how-tos. So if you can provide information and you are that resource that they can connect with after they get that information they need, it's really, really, really powerful tool in that way. TikTok, we call it the show me you. Generally this is for younger audiences that are on TikTok, and they want to see you. They don't want to see highly produced, developed content. They want to just see organic, real content from real people. So if you're stepping out and you're trying TikTok, you're going to have to be vulnerable and show the real transparency side of what you're doing versus more of that like polished approach. And then Twitter, we call it a news hub, kind of. It's really a good place for banter, conversation starters, those what we call like thumb-stopping questions where you like have to respond. You just cannot sit out this one because it has this gut response of you needing to get in the ball game and put your opinion in there. That's a fantastic place for Twitter. So with all these platforms, one of the like analogies I like to say is when you're going to a platform and you are creating content, because I'll get asked, can you put the same, graphic and copy on 3 different platforms? Something to be thinking about is that you don't want to wear a tuxedo to a barbecue. And what I mean by that is when you finish your day of work, you go home, you pour a glass of wine or crack open a beer, whatever that is, and you pop on Instagram, the last thing you want to see is someone telling you about their collegiate experience and all of these like very like formal things, right? You're going there to relax. So when you go to Instagram, show something interesting about your organization and tell something about the personal side of what you're doing. If you go to LinkedIn, people typically go there to find jobs, to network with other people, serve them content that fits each platform so that you're not rolling in and serving them and hitting them over the head with content that they're not hoping to get at that point. So it is very important to tailor your content, and you can have the same theme or message, but putting it in a way that relates or translates to these platforms, you'll have a lot more success within that. All right, so just some reminders here with social media. Research and then be where your audience is. If your audience is not on TikTok, then you don't need to do TikTok, and that's great. Time back for you. Relevance. Choose platforms that align with your brand. If you're not a controversial conversation starting brand, then Twitter, or Twitter X probably doesn't need to be. I still can't get it right every time. It is what it is. Then that's not where you need to be. Where are your competitors? Great place to start. Where are they having success, right? I don't spend a lot of time on my competitors, but I do like to check in every now and then and see where are they having success and can I be doing anything different? And then I like to go back and focus on my brand and do what we need to do, but it's a great place to start. And then advertising options. How easy is it to advertise or boost content? We'll look at like Facebook and Instagram and Google in a little bit here. Those platforms are very user-friendly. They are set up for a layperson, not necessarily an agency or an expert, to go in and you can boost a post and you can run an ad and you can target really successfully that way. And the ability to create content is, are you or your agency able to create effective content for each account? So, if you're saying, okay, I want to be on 5 platforms, I want to post 40 times a month, and you're really going after social, are you able to do that in a way that's going to be adding value in every one of those posts to your audience? That's the challenge I would ask yourself there. And then really, really crucial is engagement. Are you actually able to respond? So if you put up content and someone responds to it and comments, do you have the capacity to respond to them? This is where there's a lot of disappointment with organizations because people put comments or they ask questions and they don't get a response and they feel let down. And so if you are posting and choosing social media to be a platform, it is vital that you have capacity to respond and be able to engage with that audience. So I do get asked this question all the time. How often should I be posting? So call it the $1 million question. And really it comes down to 2 kind of simple things. Think consistency over frequency. If 1 time a week is doable budget time wise for you to be consistent, that's way better than posting way, way more often and having not great quality content. The different social media channels will actually, their algorithms will start recognizing when you're going to be posting and they'll start knowing it's coming. All of these tools, they are learning machines. And so if you can kind of teach them, hey, Tuesday mornings is when I post, they're going to know it's coming and start building your reach and impressions around that. So something to think about there. And then just, again, quality over quantity. You need to make sure that you're adding value always. I'm a little short on time, so I'm going to bust through this slide, but it's how often you should be posting. There's just some stats here for each of the platforms about what they say about how often to be posting and success you can have. So that will be there if you guys want to take a look. All right, so let's talk about these digital tactics. So first of all, with digital ads, so search ads on Google, I would say if you're going to start anywhere, search ads are going to be the place to get started. These are going to be the best type of ads for driving leads. And the reason being is that you are reaching people that already want what you are offering because they are going to a search engine and they're saying, I need what you have, basically. And then if you are running a search ad and you can get them, you already know. So they're typically going to be the most qualified, the most ready to go. So if you're going to put your budget anywhere to start, search ads would be the place to do that. So places to do that would be Google or Microsoft. Google, again, high noise, high competition, can be a little more expensive. Microsoft tends to serve a bit older audience. It tends to have a bit higher income audience, and there's a lot less noise. So it can be a bit more, a bit less expensive than Google. And then display ads. Display ads are in your awareness part of your funnel. This is where audiences are going to learn about you. They would be on a website that is in a similar field or they're a similar scope, and these different platforms are going to serve them display ads that have a graphic, a display on them that show them what you do. So it's a great way to get new audiences versus a search ad. They're coming to you, a display, you're coming to them. And then digital video ads, great platform to tell your story. And this is a great opportunity to have that engagement and awareness. Audiences are looking to see you and engage with you. And so putting, a YouTube ad out there where they're already searching for something and you're in that same realm can be really helpful. had something else with YouTube and I forgot it, but I'll come back if I think of it. All right, so within paid social media platforms, so looking at paid Facebook ads, these are fantastic. Facebook, or Meta, I should say, which is Facebook and Instagram, knows so much about us. They know they know if we're going to engage, they know if we're going to like, they know what we eat on Wednesday nights to Taco Tuesday. They know information about us. It's quite for a marketer, it's quite fantastic. For an individual, it's quite terrifying. But when you are setting up your Facebook ads, you can have different ad goals or multiple ad formats. And so I did put I believe a pro tip here. I don't have time in this presentation to go through how to actually set up a Facebook ad, but this video is on Facebook and I watched it 2 days ago and it's fantastic. It literally handholds you through setting up a campaign. So that link will be there if you need that. But when you're setting up these Facebook ads, you can really do some great targeting towards your audiences.
And Greg just mentioned, he popped in the chat, that nonprofits actually qualify for Google Ad grants, which provide free ads.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've actually tapped into that for different organizations we work with, and it's not too crazy of a process to get that approved. So yeah, absolutely. And then Instagram ads, they do have fewer ad goals and ad formats, but there is really, really great deep target audience filtering. So the platform to me looks a bit messier. This is a screenshot from, we use a tool called Agency Analytics, which houses data, but this can kind of show you some of those metrics that you can get after on this Instagram advertising. All right, and then LinkedIn, they have, different ad formats that you can do on here. Really great when you're looking for an individual by their job title or the company or an activity that's of interest to them. LinkedIn does tend to be more expensive than other ad platforms, but they're fantastic if you're looking for leaders of an organization or different people with different job titles at that point. And then there's many more ad platforms, but I think those ones we chatted about are going to be the one places to start. So things to think about with digital ads is, did you accomplish that marketing rule of 7? Did you interact with them at all of those points? Knowing what platforms your audiences are on, we've talked about that. Understand search terms and search volume. So this is where it's helpful to use different tools to say, what is my audience searching for, and really think outside in. So rather than saying, this is what we offer, what is your audience searching for? And using those layman terms versus industry jargon. And there's some great tools I have as a resource at the end that you can put in a search term and you can see the volume, and then it gives you a list of other search terms with high volume as well. Yeah, it's fantastic. So then when you're setting up your search ads and you're choosing those keywords that you want those to rank for, you can go after terms that are maybe, in the same house, but not what you would have necessarily said from your organization. Always think about providing value to your audience with any piece of content you put out. And then knowing your buying cycle and how long it takes to convert. So do they need to be in a nurture campaign, or is, getting to your website, is that enough? And then being willing to try a new tactic like video or TikTok, if that's where your audience is, getting out there and doing it. All right, I'll pause here and take any questions that we might have.
Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. I don't see anything in the chat yet.
I'm not sure. Will you be getting into search engine optimization a little bit later?
I did not do SEO in this talk. I had a very hard time honing it in because there's so much to cover.
Sure. But I do have a question related to that. I would just hold on that if you were going to be covering it. But we get quite a few emails from folks asking for us to add their website links to our website. And now my sort of rudimentary understanding is that they're doing it in part because that benefits their search engine optimization and placement on Google and so forth. I don't know if you can speak a little bit to that, because that could be a strategy that our nonprofits and literacy programs could use. I mean, is it true that if you're located, if you're linked on reputable sites, that really helps you out with your search engine placement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, search engine optimization is all about the search engine platform, so Google, being qualifying you as who you say you are and giving audiences who are looking for what you offer that you actually give them that information. So anything you can do to validate that is Google will rank you higher because of that. So what you're talking about is backlinking, where another, like when we get written up in a newspaper, I always say tag our website, put a link to our website, so that now we can say, hey, the Marion County newspaper tagged us, and now Google says, okay, Marion County says Creative Springs really does digital marketing. So it's going to help boost your ranking. So fantastic way to do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question.
A good way to do that also is we mentioned press releases, and anytime you're sharing some of that information, what we call it's almost like a small blurb at the end, but a boilerplate, or that mission statement that you can add at the bottom that includes your email or the website, so that way it's kind of automatically populating with some of this information, and it's a little bit easier way to integrate sometimes a website into a link more organically.
Yes, I think, yeah, the organic piece is really, really great. I'll get spam emails saying, hey, do you want 20 backlinks and you can buy them, right? Those dependent, if those resources where we're backlinking are not associated, or they're not valid, or they're not organic in the way they're doing that, Google is very intelligent. And so doing that in an organic way is really, really important. It kind of goes along with, when you are building your website and you're looking at all of those search terms that you want infused into the content and the copy, the words on your website. If you do that it's a balance, because Google wants to see all of these terms to rank you higher for them. But when your user gets to your website and they read a bunch of technical jargon that doesn't feel organic or authentic, you're going to lose them. So SEO, or that is really a balance of authenticity, because your audience needs that, and then getting those terms and backlinks in there that Google needs to say, hey, yep, we're going to pump you up. So it's an art and a science to that. Awesome. All right, well, let's touch on call to actions here before we get into the analytics side of things. So what is a call to action? This is a design, it's a message or a prompt that takes people that drives people to take a tangible action. You're going to have call to actions all throughout your campaigns, on your ads, on your every single social media post that you put out should have a link, an action. If it's not linking them to your website, it's saying, hey, comment with this. It's giving them a directive. So when you are any point of content that you put out, a call to action is going to be driving them to take a next step. You don't want them to live in the awareness stage forever. You don't want them to just know, right? You want to drive them to that next step. So a call to action is a driver that moves them to the next point of action. So an effective call to action is going to show people why they should care and tell them what to do. And it's really, really important that you just think simple with this, right? I think sometimes, we think like, reach out today to learn about how we can do more of this, and you just start going because you want to get it all in, right? No, just give them one tiny step. We build call to actions, think on a website, all down the page as they're scrolling. I like to have part of our strategy when we're building websites is to have an action step at any point of the scroll, whether that's your header bar stays and there's always the contact us in the top right corner and they can see that at all times, or you build in moments to learn more about our team, learn more about this service, and takes you to a different page. You're always driving to that next step. So tell them what they're going to get out of clicking that button, right? Give them that little bit of reward. What are you going to get out of it? And then tell them what to do, like click here, just being very direct. So ask yourself these questions, right? what is it that you want them to do next? What is the next thing you need them to do to get them to take that action step? Who is it that has to act? What do they need to believe before they'll take that step, right? It might be that qualifying moment of, are you the, the organization that can actually deliver on this and give me that, what I need here? Think about where their attention is. Again, if you're on Instagram or if you're on Pinterest, are they trying to leave Pinterest to check you out, or are they just trying to build a board? So is the step like, pin this for ideas on here? It doesn't have to be go from social media to, hey, connect with us today. No. What is the one next step? So where is their attention, and what's the one thing you want them to do to bring them down that funnel and make it tangible, hands-on? So example of good and bad here. Bad, buy now. I think this is kind of it's typically you're asking too much too soon. You're not giving them enough information. It feels like a really high commitment. This should really only be used at the very, very end, when you're actually saying what you're getting. And then that effective call to action would be something like, get instant access now, right? You're telling them what you're getting. You're getting instant access. You don't have to wait. You don't have to get put on a list. You're telling them, within that button, how you're going to actually, what you're going to get, and it's all right there. All right, so let's get into some analytics, how to track and then analyze those results. So we'll start it off with the website. All right, so Google Analytics, and I did get to see the survey that you guys filled out, so thank you for doing that. It looks like we've got most folks that are somewhat familiar to not so familiar with Google Analytics. But Google Analytics is all about your website, and there's a lot of really good information you can learn from this. This map right here is showing the places where your audience is. Where are they coming from when they're visiting your website? Can be really, really helpful, depending, how many locations you have, and learning, okay, where is my audience, and do I need to go after a new market, or do I need to be in a new space, and getting specific there. Another really great analytic tool on your website is a heat map. So this is typically, it's an additional application, or we call it a plugin, that you put on your website, and it shows you where people are spending time on your website. So you can see red is hot, a lot of people, yellow, and then it goes into purple. You can see it's typically, a typical heat map looks like you're reading a book. You start at the top left and you go right. That's pretty common. This F shape right here is common, and then think of an E shape. So when you're building your website and you're looking at what content to put where and what headers versus long form, my copywriters spend their heart and energy into writing these beautiful long form content, and then it's not read, right? Because it's not there, and the header is what captures, and then they click the button. So this can be really, really helpful in learning what your audience is getting on your website before they, would leave your site, where they're spending that time. We do a lot of research looking at journey mapping, and we use tools like the heat map, and then to understand how is your audience navigating through your site. And where this is really helpful is knowing, is your audience going to your homepage, they're served the information they need, and they're contacting you, or do they go check out your About Us page, and then they go look at your service page, and then they go, okay, now I've gotten the information I need. So what are those pages? Where are they going? What is that journey that they're taking through your site before they take that step? And that can be really helpful. We've, on how you simply even just structure your homepage. Our website right now, we have our client stories first, our case studies first, because we, in our industry, we can say all of the different things that we do, but they want to know, they want to see the work. They want to see other clients that have done this and had success. So we lead with client work, whereas other, service-based industries we work with, we lead with, okay, these are the services that you need, and get a quote today. It can really change depending on the industry you're in. So looking at the analytics metrics that you can get out of Google Analytics when you're looking there, look at the number of users. This is the unique individuals that have visited your site. And then the sessions is each visit to your website. So then that leads to your sessions per user. So the number of times a unique user is visiting your site is that sessions per user, which is really helpful to know. Does someone come back to you 3-4 times before they're actually connecting with you? And if that's the case, you might want to serve them a retargeting ad and build that into your campaign, because they're coming to you and they need time. Maybe they want to think about it. It's not like an instant moment. And so you can, capture their information, serve them a retargeting ad, get them to come back, because hey, it takes somebody 3 to 4 times before that user is going to actually convert with us. Other things to look at: page views. So the number of pages viewed on your website, we just chatted through that. Is it a one and done? Are they looking at different pages to qualify you before they make that decision? The duration of a user on your website. I find it very fascinating. Most durations of websites is less than 30 seconds. If you get someone to 2 minutes, it's probably because you have a video on your page, which can be very helpful to keep people there and give them information. So having a video right there on the home page in the hero section, so they get there. A huge part of what you're trying to drive with your website is giving them what they thought they were going to get when they get to your website. And duration is a really good way to measure that. And we'll talk about it here, but bounce rate. Do they come to your website and they leave? That's a really big indicator that they thought they were going to get something when they got there and they did not get it. So, and then your job as the analyst is to go, why? What did we say in our ad that they clicked on and got to my website that they did not get when they got there, that I can then serve or explain better, or give them that information or get them to the next step? Really high indicator that they're not getting what they thought they were going to get. And then similar, so pages per session, so the average amount of pages visited on each session. Helpful there. All right, and we just chat about bounce rate. So this is that percent of users that are visiting one page and then they leave. You want a low bounce rate so that you're keeping people engaged and on your site. And this can really depend on your website goals. So if you're over 75%, check for improvements. Anyways, average, excellent. We give some kind of ratings here of where you want your bounce rate to be. But the bigger picture here is thinking about what is that content that they were hoping to get and how can you better give that to them. And then looking at most viewed pages. This is really, really vital for us. Our blog page is the #1 way that our audience enters our site. We do a lot of thought leadership, a lot of training. Again, education consulting is huge. That's the #1 way they come to us. And so we make sure that we have a very strong call to action at the bottom of all of our blogs, because we know that they're going to come in there, get what they need, and then we hopefully are the resource that they can then go get, to do that service that they were looking for. And then traffic source. So these are the sources that sent users to your website. This is crucial to understand that flow. So did they come from a search engine, your search ad? Did they come from another website? To Greg's point, did they find you somewhere else and that backlink brought you there? Social media ad campaigns. What is that traffic source that brought you there? That helps paint that better picture of how they got there, and then helps you know where to spend your dollars on these other tactics to know how you're getting them there in the first place. All right, and then with the goals that you can set up, this is a quantifiable measure of an action that you want your user to take. So in simple terms, a conversion. You want them to contact you. That's a goal you can set up on your site and that you can measure. This is, should be starting out what you have set up so that you can actually measure if your website is working for you. Are people filling out the form? Getting them to your site can be a goal. Arriving at the URL, they stayed for an amount of time. Did they click on a specific button? Those are all goals that you can set up. But that contact us is probably the #1 that most folks are looking for, is that connection point. All right, so let's move into social media analytics. Should I pause there on web? Any questions on Google Analytics? I know we're cooking on time, but
One question.
yeah.
So you mentioned the retargeting ads. So I'm not really familiar with that term, but the way you described it sounds like, is this the kind of thing, like I'll go to a website and then I'll get an email on it, and I'm sometimes I'm not clear how they know what my email is. Can you talk a little bit about that? How do you essentially, is that what it is? It's sort of a follow-up email of some sort, if
The
you
email,
website?
I'm not sure on the email, the retargeting ad is, so you know when you go to a site and it says we have cookies and you say okay because you just want it off the screen. That is basically you saying I'm letting you follow me as my identity online,
Okay,
and then later on we're going to serve you ads for this website because you visited our site, and we're going to retarget you, meaning you came to us, now we know who you are, we captured that, and then when you're on a different website not thinking about me later down the road, I'm going to serve you another ad about my organization because I captured your information
okay,
at
yeah.
that point.
So if somebody doesn't go to your website, is it still, I mean, let's say I go search for umbrellas, I get a bunch of ads for umbrellas. I don't know if it's always the same company that I necessarily went to their website. Is there a way to, I guess I'm trying to think if there's ways that folks who are in literacy programs, if somebody's searching for something along the lines of, learning English, that could materialize into an ad that folks receive that would give them information about how they can learn English locally through their program.
Yes, I think that's where keywords and search terms are really, really important. Which I did not include in this presentation, but now I'm feeling like I should have. But the more you can qualify, really your website, again, being the primary point, having those search terms and keywords and tags to your organization, Google is going to say, okay, this is who you are and who your audience is, and it's going to learn that, and it's going to put you as the solution for individuals searching for that. So even if you're not running a search ad, if you have a lot of keywords around literacy and the audience that you're serving and what you do, right after your search ads, the Google Business Profile, then you have your organic ranking, and that's where search engine optimization comes in. Then Google is going to serve your content to audiences. So if you sell umbrellas and you're one of 50 people selling umbrellas, whoever is most qualified according to Google, has the most content, that is the umbrella seller, they're going to serve you to the audience looking for umbrellas. That's organically. And then the way to get ahead of that in a paid way is to pay for the search terms that you want to say that of what you do. But if those two things are working together, so Google says, oh yeah, these guys are the go-to umbrella, and you're paying for those search ads with the list of terms, the likelihood when somebody's looking for that of you being the solution is much, much higher.
And that can be localized, right? Or is localized quite often through
Oh
the,
my gosh.
yeah.
Yes, yes. So that's where local citation is vital. So paying $60 or whatever it is for Bright Local one time is super important because, searching like literacy organization near me, anything near me, if you're ranking, if your Google Business Profile is updated and you are in that area and you qualify to Google to whatever degree for that search term, you're going to get served. Your organization will be served to that user higher than a national organization, or whatnot. So it depends on how much they're spending. Some of these big, depends on your industry, but you can be outspent. But locally, if they don't have a location in your area that Google has recognized and says, you have to, when you do a Google Business Profile, they'll actually send you a piece of mail and you have to say, yep, I'm at this location. I'm really here. Sometimes you have to send a picture of your door and your logo and say, no, we've had trouble with this. We're like, no, Google, we really have our client there. They have a whole like manufacturing plant here. I know Google Earth hasn't gone over it yet, but it's really there. So it is a great way to validate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question. All right, well, let's go into some social media analytics. So first I'm going to break these into awareness metrics, and then we'll talk about return on investment metrics. So the first thing with social media, when you're looking at awareness, which is where social media typically lives in the funnel, is looking at reach. And reach is how many people saw your social media content. And then you have impressions, which is the number of times as individuals. So, and similar to users per session on a website, you have reach and impressions, where reach is the number of people And then impressions is how many times those individuals are seeing your posts if they see it numerous times. Which is a really powerful tool, because if you're trying to saturate an audience and know, okay, I know everyone in this area needs to know about my service, and you're trying to reach that group, it's a really great indicator that, okay, they know who we are, and now we can go a level deeper with our content, and that they're being served. And then typically after you've accomplished reach and impressions, then you start looking at things like engagement. Engagement is when people are reacting to your post. They're liking it, they're hearting it, they're crying, they're commenting, they're sharing it. Those are all points of engagement. Something that is happening, across the marketplace is engagement is down across the marketplace on all social platforms. But what a way to combat that is being very intentional, thinking back to the call to action and asking for engagement. Hey, tag 2 friends that this relates to, or comment with your favorite moment that you read with your son or daughter. Put a picture, and asking those posts. You can be very intentional in asking for the engagement on your posts to actually drive that metric. And then looking at your audience growth rate. So this is how many new followers you're getting as your brand grows over a certain amount of time. This is also very challenging, and honestly not something I tell clients to focus on, because I'll get a client that says, hey, like, I want to get to 10,000 followers on Facebook by the end of 2025. And I'm like, well, what is that really accomplishing? It feels good, and it's like, hey, we've got so many followers, right? But what's more important, I think, is that new audiences, right? This is all about awareness. New audiences that you want to reach and want to service are seeing your content, and that they're engaging with it. That is way more important than them following you. If you can get them to follow you, fantastic. I think you'll have more success with this when you have a group or a discussion board or things like that, where you're actually saying, hey, following us, you're going to get value out of that. If you're at that point where you can engage in that way, great metric to go after. But if your goal with your social media posts are to get the right people seeing your content and engaging with you so that they have that long term, that is where you're going to start to see, I think, a bit more success, and this can come later. All right, so look at some ROI metrics around social media. So you've got your click-through rate. So this is how often people are clicking on a link that you post to access that content. You have your cost per click. So this is the amount that you are paying for each click that you're getting on your post. And then you've got conversions. So this is how often that social content starts the process for conversion. So not necessarily you're getting their contact information like on a website conversion goal. This is more so, did they actually, if you put a link and said, hey, learn more about this service here, did they click on that link and go through to your website? Did they convert from the one thing that you were asking them to do? Evolution, so how are the metrics changing over time? We talk a lot about benchmarking. So if you're starting out brand new with a tactic, your first year, it's going to be a loose cannon. You're going to learn a lot in that year. And then the next year you'll have some benchmarks. And typically those can take a couple of years to know, okay, Q4 is really high for us. Or maybe it's Q3 because you're getting into summer and school is kicking back up at the end of summer. And so then that's when you really peak. So then you can learn what those benchmarks are and know when to put more spend or to do different campaigns based on when you're having higher volume, low volume, and you can kind of learn that. But that takes time to learn that evolution and those benchmarks. And then quality, which is, there's not a quantifiable way to measure this, but it is something that will drive an ROI on your social media. This is something that you need to look at, how is the quality of what we're putting out? Is it serving our audiences in a positive way? So while we look at a lot of numbers when we're looking at these metrics, we also like to look at it and go, okay, is the quality of what you're serving, is that driving, how is that impacting these other metrics that we're seeing? Any questions on social media analytics? All right, I'll click to digital analytics. All right, so clicks, so those are going to be the number of times that your ads get clicked, and then cost, how much you paid for that ad. So similar to social media, there's that cost per click metric, so the average cost per each click. This is really helpful to keep track of because it helps you know that ROI, that end when, I mean, really at the end of the day, the question that you want answered is how many people did we get from our ads, right? Did we get in our program, or did we that actually converted and we got their information? So knowing how much you're paying for each of those clicks will tell you how each of your ads are performing. Impressions, the number of times your ad gets displayed. So is it actually being shown to the number of people that you want it to be? This can be a really, really good indicator to how much you should be spending on your ads. So that ad spend and how much you're putting in, the way I explain it is if you've got 10 organizations that all do the same thing and they're all spending $1,000 a month on Google, or 100, whatever it is, Google is going to serve them each fairly as the leads come in, one lead at a time. Now, if you spend $1,500 a month and all your other competitors are spending $1,000, you're going to get, 1.5 leads to their one lead as they come in. So the number of times your ad is being displayed can be really helpful to know, do I have the right ad spend? Do I need to raise it or lower it depending on the competition? It can be a good indicator there. And then your click-through rate, how often users are actually clicking on your ad. Again, this can come back to quality. If they're not clicking on it, is it not the right message? Is it not the right image? Is it not really showing what you need it to? So it can be helpful there. And then conversions, how many goals were achieved on your website thanks to that ad being served? So with Google Ads, it's something to think about is that you can change a digital ad at any point of time, and it's very important to, I would say, we say constantly when we're managing campaigns for our clients, we're looking at them a couple times a week, depending on the scope of what we're doing, and we're making tweaks. If we're running a search ad, you have your 2 phrases and then your 20 search terms. We are changing out those terms because Google is learning and going, here's the volume of these terms. Let's trade them out. Don't wait. Make those moves, iterate. It should not be a set and forget situation. You should, so depending on, your capacity, I would say at least every other week, check in on how you're doing, make some changes, and make sure that you're optimizing continually. I will put a caveat to that when you first put up an ad, it can take a month or so, maybe a month to 6 weeks for Google to really learn who you're trying to go after and gain some traction. So we try to advise our clients, let it rock for at least a month, and then we're going to be iterating like crazy. So something to think about there. Again, checking those search terms. You can also add in negative keywords. So if you're getting leads coming in and they're asking for what you don't offer, you can put in terms that you do not want to rank for. Almost equally as powerful as what you do want to rank for, because you're, again, qualifying out the folks that you don't want to come in, can be great. And then just a reminder, be careful with Google suggestions. Google likes to suggest terms and different things, and I don't think they always improve your campaign. So I think you know your industry, you know your audience, you know who you're trying to serve. Google is trying to help you, but I would say that they oftentimes will make suggestions that just don't align with your goals. So take them with a grain of salt. All right, so overall, some analysis reminders here. It's important to align on which metrics are going to matter to you most based on the strategy or campaign you're running. You don't need to have there are so many more metrics than even we just went over right now. Know which metrics matter to you. And in the case study that I'm about to show you, I'll show you how we kind of picked out some specific metrics to help us move the needle. So with an awareness campaign, if your goal is to get more people aware, focus on impressions, reach, how many web sessions did you get? How many video views did you get? Just those, start there with that awareness campaign. And then if you're trying to run a conversion strategy and getting leads captured, how many form fills? How many people called you? Did they sign up for a subscription, or did they sign up for a newsletter? That focus on those metrics so that you can, really hone in. And then always, always, always establish your ROI. Know from the beginning what your goal is with that. And it's, an ROI can be determined by the amount of people coming in that you got captured, and that will help you know if your marketing spend is working and effective. That's a huge piece that I think sometimes organizations, and I'm like, what's your ROI in marketing, or what does it need to be so that I can help meet your goals and create a budget that fits that? And most people can't answer that question. And you should be able to answer that question. So, is your marketing spending working? It should absolutely be working for you. So knowing the cost of these metrics, the cost per click, all of those different things, really helpful. All right. Any questions on analytics in general? And then I'll go how am I doing on time, Stephanie? Do I have till 10:30, or am I like out of time?
I think we're right about there. I know we have a few minutes before the next session. So we do have a couple more minutes, but
Okay. Well, I'll
get it
go
wrapped up.
to my case study here, and then I'll open it for any questions if we have time. So
Clear.
awesome. All right. So we work with an organization in Marion County called the Marion County Hospital District. They're a government organization that runs a few nonprofits. And so I did this case study for you guys because they have a pretty relatively low budget for their different organizations they've served. And we have had some really fantastic success with these different organizations. So we started out with our initial goal for them being brand awareness. So as we chatted about, we wanted to get reach impressions, and we had refreshed their website. We went back and updated their website to talk about each of those programs that they have and give a point of conversion on that site. And so we wanted to know, the first thing we wanted to do is just get people in Marion County aware and traffic to the website. So the first thing that we looked at is, okay, where are the people in Marion County? And as I mentioned, we went to Statista and we got some data here. Social media, we looked at what platforms are really prevalent. And what we found is that across Facebook and Instagram, across just those two platforms, over 92% of the Marion County population was represented on one of those two platforms. So 30% was on both, and then 51% on Facebook alone and 17% on Instagram. So it was just very, very loud and clear that if we can get to almost, all of Marion County population, which was 18 plus for us, and it was actually lower income. So that was a demographic point that we looked at as well. These two platforms were where we needed to be. So with that, I'll show you some of the results here in a minute. Once we were driving through and getting those reach and impressions, which we got some really great success with that, then we said, okay, now it's time to drive for some engagement. And so instead of doing content that was just more focused on who they are and what they do and getting those messages out there, we created content that had images of real activities. So we asked for photography. We said, just send us pictures. We had very polished photos up until this point, trying to show the services, but we said we need to see the people that are in these classes. So they do, professional classes teaching people how to interview. They do health and wellness, teach people how to eat and do fitness and be healthier. So we had real photos. We did content that was very helpful and showed, that served the interests of the people that were in these programs. And so, and we, asked a lot of questions and got them engaging. And then we reframed those informational posts to creating a moment of asking a question and creating a conversion. So that was on the content side, what we changed. And then on a very practical side of the systems, we just updated the campaign goals on Meta, so Facebook and Instagram, to be, we had initially set to traffic, and we changed that to engagement. So Meta this way knows us so well that it was showing the content to people that are more likely to engage with these posts. So it was very practical to go say, hey, Facebook, I want more people in our demographic to see it. Initially, that's traffic goal. And then we said, hey, no, now we want people that typically comment and engage on this. So then we changed the goal to engagement. So with that, some of the results of this, so you can see the top performing posts that we had for reach. You can see very polished, designed out. It talks about National Physical Fitness and Sports Month. increasing Marion County's overall health, right? Very informative. And then our top post for engagement with the program talked about some statistics of these organizations and had information, and we asked for that connection point. This was for Marion County Hospital District, and then one of their organizations they serve is the Community Home Project. So our top performing posts for reach here, getting in front and sharing what they do, and this is a dental and hygiene bus that you can go in and get free dental care services and making those services known. And then when we change it for engagement, you can see not a great quality photo, I would say, not a photographer took this, but look at the faces in there and the success they've had in showing the real people behind this. This was our top performing post for engagement that we got for them. And it wasn't the super polished photographer that took that shot. So some of those results we've seen. So if you look at the red, blue, and yellow lines, those are the reach and impressions metrics. You can see we started the campaign, we ramped up Q1, and then Q2, it just took off. And so we had a lot of success. And we were able to reach over 95 folks in Marion County through these campaign efforts. And the budget, by the way, for Marion County Hospital District was $125 a month. So, and then we started to go, okay, let's get engagement. So we've started getting a bit more engagement on Facebook and Instagram, and that's what we've been working on this year, is to continue to increase this. We've reached everyone in Marion County at this point, and like we've surpassed the whole population that's on these channels, which is fantastic. So now we continue to try to drive. Engagement's challenging, but we're up for it, and we're trying to do that. And then their website, so driving traffic, a lot of these posts have a call to action to get them to the website. And so you can see their website sessions, 13,000 sessions on their website in 3 quarters. And that's 11,000 unique users. So 11,000 folks have been to their website, which from the year previous, this more than doubled from the previous year. So social media had a fantastic return on getting folks to the website. And then for the Community Home Project, you can see the reach is even higher. We had over 103,000 reach on Facebook and 126,000 impressions. And then the website pages, not near as much as the home organization of MCHD, but we're working on increasing that. And this is also up, I think, this is a new site page that we put up, so brand new, so 0 to something here. So a lot of fantastic success there. So all right, well, I won't go through the resources, but if you guys again would like this presentation, I put some links in here of really great tools that you can utilize. And with that, I'll say thank you, and any final questions or thoughts?
Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. If you can send us that PowerPoint, we're going to be putting all the PowerPoints into a single sort of folder so that we can share that with everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
We appreciate that. Very informative. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to shorten our break here a little bit, and if folks can just take 5 minutes, if you need a quick break, and then meet back here at 10:30 for our next session. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. Our next session is a resource spotlight, in which we're going to hear from 2 outstanding organizations, ProLiteracy, which I'm sure most, if not all of you, are familiar with, as our national organization in adult education and literacy. And they have some outstanding resources, professional development opportunities, grant opportunities, and we're very pleased to have Todd Evans join us. And then a little bit later on, we're going to have Jesse Riddle, who is the Transition Program Administrator with the Florida Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, which has some outstanding resources for students who have disabilities. So we're going to start with Todd. He's the Senior Director of Programs at ProLiteracy. Welcome, Todd. I'll turn it over to you.
Glad to be here already. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
All right. Perfect. So yeah, Greg and Stephanie asked me to share with you folks some of the resources we have and some of the information about projects and some of the work that we're doing. So first of all, you guys may know that we have a conference coming up in October of this year in Baltimore, Maryland. So encourage you to check out our website. We've got about 130, maybe a little bit more, great workshops, wide range of topics. We're going to be announcing our keynote speaker in the next couple of weeks. Going to be a fantastic keynote speaker. I'm not at liberty to say who it is, but I will tell you that they are a real fantastic speaker. But yeah, hope to see a lot of you folks there. Few things that we've got going on. So those of you who are members of ProLiteracy, if you get our network news, you may have seen that we are having these monthly membership meetups. They happen the first and third week of every month. They come out in your network news newsletter for you to register. Sometimes they are on specific membership benefits, like there was one a few months ago on all the different resources on Education Network. Sometimes they're just opportunities to ask questions. So great place to go and kind of a lot of people remember the New Readers Press discount, may not be familiar with a lot of your other membership benefits. So good place to go and find out about those. I wanted to tell you about one kind of exciting thing that we're doing. And Greg and Stephanie, this will kind of affect you guys first, but will wind up affecting everybody is over the next couple of years, we're going to be restructuring our membership benefits. So kind of what we've done for a long time is we've had the same membership package for all organizations, and we might have tweaked it here or there a little bit, but for the most part, we offer the same thing to everybody. Well, we're going to take a different approach now and start to look at different categories of organizations. We're going to start with state organizations like Florida Literacy Coalition, but we're going to be looking at library literacy programs, correctional facilities, large urban programs, rural programs. And we're going to be just kind of looking at specifically what are the needs of this group of programs, kind of recognizing people in rural areas have different needs than urban areas and so on, and then developing sets of benefits specifically targeted to those programs. So kind of a little bit about what that process is going to look like. We're going to start off with a focus groups of our members in those particular categories. So Greg and Stephanie will be calling on you guys to participate in a focus group. We're going to start that probably in July. But find out, what membership benefits you like, but most importantly, identifying your pain points. Like, what are the things that you as an organization struggle with? And these are for our local literacy providers as well. Then we're going to kind of take that information, put together a survey, send it out to a larger audience of people in that category. And then we're going to look for folks that are in that category that are not members of us, find out why not, and what benefits they would kind of appreciate, that would help them become a member. And then we're going to design kind of specific membership benefits. And we're going to take an approach of designing a core set of benefits that pretty much everybody said they wanted, and that we can provide in a affordable way. And then we are going to have kind of add-ons. So for a state organization, that might, the core benefits might be quarterly policy update meetings, might be customized statistical reports for your state, some things like that. But add-ons might be opportunities for you to purchase membership for all the folks in your network. It might be support in doing your annual conference. It might be running your membership program. So these would be add-ons. And we're going to take this process and we're going to apply it to local programs as well. So, like I said, urban programs might have a core set of benefits and then add-ons that are specific to those urban programs. So I say this just to say that uh, keep your eyes open for us kind of launching this initiative. And hopefully when we call on you, you'll be willing to participate in some focus groups and things like that. But it's kind of going through that process is probably going to take us 2 to 3 years to kind of get all of the resources developed. Greg was just talking about grants. So for those of you who don't know that we offer grants to literacy programs, we have 3 big granting programs, the National Book Fund, the Mobile Learning Fund, and the Literacy Opportunity Fund. And you see some information here. The National Book Fund is to help folks purchase uh, print materials, instructional materials from New Readers Press. Range of grants is $500 to about $2,000. Mobile Learning Fund is kind of the same thing as the National Book Fund, but to help you purchase digital materials like Learning Upgrade, News for You, New Readers Press Online, um, licenses for those products, and the grants are up to $3,000. And then probably our most popular one is the Literacy Opportunity Fund. It's funded by Nora Roberts. And we offer those grants 4 times a year. In fact, it just opened in June 1st, and it's going to close either June 30th or July 1st. So encourage you to kind of go and check it out. But it is grants of $3,000 to $6,000. One of the easiest grants we have to apply for, and it can be used to support anything. So it doesn't have to be instructional stuff. It can be go towards salary, go towards your building rent. People have used it to purchase computers or tablets to loan out to their students. So it's a great kind of multi-purpose fund to apply for. Just give you money that you can use, and general operating funds are very rare and very hard to come by. You know what? I'm going to stop here for a second and just encourage you, if you have any questions, to put those in the chat, and I will kind of pause periodically to answer those. A few of the new resources that we have, you may have seen that we created a interactive voting guide. You guys in Florida probably aren't aware that we have an election coming up in November. I know Florida is not really, in the news much when elections come around. Uh, but this is a great course. Those of you who subscribe to News for You know that every 2 years we publish kind of a print version of an election guide. So this interactive guide is kind of based off of that, but it's a little more engaging. It's an online course. It's designed for students, and it's just a great way to kind of maybe do a short course or a few lessons on, political engagement and kind of civic duty with your students. And I'm going to click on it and just show you a little bit of it just to see the kinds of topics that are covered. Let's see if this pulls up. There we go. So this will take you to the landing page, and I can go to the course. And I'm going to restart this. And let me also
read weekly newspaper and website News for You.
You guys can hear that audio, correct?
This guide explains who
Okay.
can vote and why every
So you see it's designed for students, and you can see the topics that are covered over here. So you've got short history of voting, why voting matters,
Every vote counts. Click the picture to watch a video.
some information about who can't vote.
Not everyone is eligible to vote.
So
Felony conviction.
kind of
Most
interactive
states limit voting by convict.
and designed for students. Great resources to kind of check your
All states.
registration. So
Registering to
there's
vote
a
is easy. Process and learn about other ways to register.
website you can go to find out if you are uh, registered to vote, and if you're not, it'll point you to places to get your students registered to vote. And then it just explains a lot about the voting process. So really good kind of timely resource for everybody. Let's get back to um, another resource we have is our adult literacy management and leadership training, which is now free to ProLiteracy members. So this is really designed for executive directors, especially new executive directors. If any of you have kind of been doing this for a couple of years or less, this would be a really good resource for you. It's a collection of courses around 6 topics. Up, didn't mean to, let me back up here. Collection of resources around 6 topics, and I'll show you what those are. So administration, so kind of administrative duties, like creating operations manuals, things like that. Finances, so information about creating a budget, some information about financial indicators and some statistics that you can run about your organization to see like how financially healthy you are. There's some examples of financial reports that you might use to, during board meetings to give your board updates. There's human resources collection of courses, which is really about um, recruiting and hiring and evaluating and training staff. And it considers all staff, both paid and unpaid. So it talks about like onboarding process. It talks about uh, employee evaluations, gives you some examples of those, different things like that. Introduction to some employment law things that you need to be aware of as an employer. There's a set of courses on board governance that talks about different types of boards, uh, how you might construct them. There's some information about strategic and operational and succession planning in those. Crisis management, we developed that one during COVID. So it's about, and it's not just dealing with that, but kind of looking at different types of crisis that an organization might be under. So, there's like natural disaster crisis, there's kind of financial crisis, there might be crisis of just uh, uh, new populations coming into your community and having to figure out how to serve them quickly. But good information about developing a uh, crisis plan, a communication plan, things like that. And then the last one is change management. We find this one is really important for new executive directors. A lot of times, if you're a new executive director, you've either kind of come up through the program, you might have a good background in instructional services, but maybe not in a background in those other kind of program management or administrative areas, or maybe you have experience in nonprofit administration, but not with literacy. So this is kind of how do you step into that situation of managing an organization, get your employees on board with the things that you want to do, and kind of develop a plan to move forward. So some good courses for you. Maybe check those out. And then some other just resources I wanted to highlight, some of our student resources. And I don't know if you guys, oh, we've got a question or a comment. Please put the link in the chat. Yes, I absolutely will do that. You know what? I will drop that in the chat towards the end, those links. And then I know Greg was talking about sharing the slides, so I'll hand those to you as well.
Yeah.
But the last, oh, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, just one quick thing before we move on from those management and leadership training sessions. And I'm so glad to hear that they're now available to members. We had an arrangement last year where we had some vouchers for some of those. So if you're not a ProLiteracy member or you're interested in taking one or more of those courses, just shoot me an email. We still have a few of the vouchers left. And Todd and I were talking that those are still valid. So if you're interested in participating in those, they're a very good resource.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing I wanted to show you guys, I don't know why this keeps, there we go. I wanted to go back to the education network. And how many of you just like raise your hand if you are familiar with ProLiteracy Education Network? All right. Few people. So ProLiteracy Education Network is really our resource hub. It's where we house a lot of our online courses, other types of resources, recordings of our webinars, things like that. And you can see kind of for us folks, there are you can just kind of go on and explore based on your role in your literacy organization. There's a area member central where you can access uh, different benefits that are exclusive to members, list of featured resources. But I wanted to show you specifically and I'm going to hide my controls here. There we go. So I can see my menu at the top. We have recently, well, over the last about year and a half, developed a lot of resources for students. So we created kind of a special way for students to be able to navigate. So if I'm a tutor, I can change my account to a student account so I can kind of show students how to do this. But this is the student navigation process. And so it's a lot easier for students to kind of come on and find resources to help them do different things. Um, and you'll see some of the resources I was talking about. There's the interactive voting guide is right there. A couple of courses. One, I know one of the things that we always look for are resources just for our students to read that are written at a low level. So this is a collection of online books that were created by uh, libraries out in California. They actually wrote the hardcover versions of the books and then we put them online. And I'm just going to show you kind of an example of one. Uh, so let's do a fun day camping. I don't see the one that I normally um, click on, which is about two dogs. So this is about camping. Let's see if it's going to boot up here. That one seems to be stuck here. There we go. Okay. So title page, information about the project. So you'll see lots of pictures written at a very low level. There we go. And I just want to get to, I don't know why this one's getting hung up. There we go. Um, to the end. but the navigation's really easy. They're all about 20 pages. And you can, at the end, if you wanted to download a print copy of the book, you can download a PDF. There's a place where you can order a hard copy of the book. And then there's some tutor tips there at the end. We've got about 140 of them. And right now we're have a grant to get produce about 60, 70 more that are written at a little bit higher level. So these are written at about a first grade reading level. The ones that we're going to do are about a second or third grade reading level. So if you're looking for just resources for your students to read, that's a great set of resources. But I would encourage you to just kind of go on and look around the student resources. They're great, especially if you're doing kind of virtual learning and stuff like that. And you'll see some of the other courses we have here, understanding health and wellness. I know a lot of you guys are involved in the Florida Literacy Coalition health project. So maybe you'll find some good resources there. And there's a practice course for Laubach way to reading. All right. A few more resources for you. Teacher Training Plus. This is our third year of doing Teacher Training Plus. This is a series of webinars for tutors and teachers. What we did is we surveyed teachers and tutors about the issues they were having once they started working with students. And we've developed a set of webinars around those issues. You'll see the tracks that we have for this upcoming year: basic literacy, English language learning, high school equivalency, and we're going to be doing some webinars around workplace or workforce development. Um, there are 3 webinars, one in the fall for each track, one in the fall, one around January, February, and one in usually April. And then the webinars are followed about 2 or 3 weeks later with these coaching sessions. Up until now, they've been kind of just an opportunity for people to come and ask questions. The idea behind it was a lot of times we go to webinars, we go back, we try to implement the strategies, we have some issues, and then we don't have an opportunity to talk to anybody about how to overcome them. Um, this year, we're taking a little bit different approach. So we're going to have turn the coaching sessions are going to be a little more focused. We're going to go into one will be kind of a deeper exploration of the topic. One's going to work on kind of goal planning around the topic area, and one will work on lesson planning around the topic area. These are all free and available to everybody. They're they're funded by Dollar General. So encourage you to go to that site. We'll be posting the schedule for the upcoming year, probably mid-July. My last thing to talk about are kind of 2 projects that we're doing. One is called Navigating Success. And the idea behind this is kind of a research project. So we're looking at, we know that kind of the adults reading at the below a 4th grade level are often the hardest to reach. They're the hardest to kind of provide instruction to. They need a lot of support. And we know that a lot of times the folks working with them um, are kind of working through a set of curriculum, but they don't really have kind of access to good learning data from those students, and they don't have access to kind of good ongoing coaching and support. And so what this project is looking at is we've got 8 participating programs. In each program, we've divided students and tutors up into 3 groups. So one group just does their normal type of instruction. One group gets some coaching based on an initial assessment and what that tutor or teacher observes going on with their student. And the third group is using a digital tool learning upgrade So the students in that are getting additional practice using Learning Upgrade, but the tutors are also getting kind of learning information about that student. And those folks participating in the intervention and in the intervention plus group are getting regular ongoing coaching um, and training. And so our objective is to see, does that uh, use of data and coaching have an impact on the students' learning? Do they learn quicker? We're going to, this project will end in December. We're going to publish our findings. We suspect that we'll see better learning results from those students that are using that digital tools and the tutors that are making adjustments to their instruction. And then our next phase of the project will be on working with programs on how to kind of implement variations of this model of using digital tools in conjunction with their regular face-to-face instruction to learn how to analyze student data, make adjustments to their instruction. All right. And then the last one, and I realize I've got 2 minutes. I don't want to step on Jesse's time, but just kind of looking at this issue of kind of our adult education landscape. We've got about 48 million adults reading below the fourth grade level in the United States. And across all of our adult education systems, only about 4 million adults are being served by that whole system. So there's a lot more folks out there than we're able to reach. And we're full. A lot of our programs have waiting lists. So how do we reach those folks that aren't coming into our programs? And, maybe even if they did, we would have trouble finding a spot for them. We have a project called Hidden Millions, which is really working at doing that. And what we've done is we've kind of tried to identify common uh, anchor institutions in a community, such as an elementary school. So we're partnering with elementary schools, um, going into like pre-K through second grade, um, giving Learning Upgrade to the children in those classes and to their parents, uh, under the premise of giving the children a learning tool that they can use at home for home literacy activities to continue to support their learning activities. But because the parents also get a license to Learning Upgrade, they have access to all of the learning on there as well. The parent and child they're assigned a mentor, so they get put in a cohort. They're assigned a mentor. That mentor works with the parent on how to use Learning Upgrade with their kid, but is also encouraging the parent to use those lessons in Learning Upgrade. And the idea is, in this way, we can kind of uh, tangentially provide the adult with literacy instruction and then a mentor to support their learning. And then if they kind of get going and see the benefits of that, we can refer them to an adult education program in their area. Right now, we've got 2 participating communities, one in Charleston, one in Palm Beach. School from each. The Palm Beach County, Florida, we've done a project with Gladeview Elementary there, and are looking to bring on some more elementary schools in Palm Beach County. So our hope for this is to kind of develop a model of how to reach more folks in the community. And then once we get that model, be able to spread it and share it with kind of our network. All right, so that's it.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions for Todd?
And let me see if I can stop sharing. I think I did. Am I not sharing anymore?
No, we can still.
Perfect.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Very informative, Todd. Lots of great resources. Thanks for sharing. I did have one quick question. The study that you're doing around navigating success, are you taking a look at sort of what works for programs and what doesn't work in terms of, integrating virtual instruction as part of sort of the process? Because I think some programs really
So the programs that we have a mix of delivery. So some of them are working in one-on-one, some in classrooms, some in person, some are meeting virtually. So as we kind of get those study results, we'll be able to break it out and see if there are not only differences between the people that are using the digital tools, just getting the coaching and just doing what they would normally do, but we'll also see if there are differences in those things between people that are meeting in person, people that are doing virtual work, and so on. So
Okay, good. Get some promising practices out of that. That's fantastic.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thanks again, Todd. Really appreciate it. Next up, we have Jesse Riddle, who, and if you can pull up your screen there, Jesse.
Okay.
Jesse is the Transition Program Administrator at the Department of Education's Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And I know they have some fantastic resources, grants, and other opportunities for folks who have disabilities. So thank you for joining us, Jesse.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here today and talk about our program and how we could assist with those with disabilities in the workforce. So we have a short time to cover everything. So this is just going to be a quick general overview. And of course, you can always reach out to me if you have any other questions or concerns or need help with getting individuals contacted through our agency. So my name is Jesse Riddle. I am one of the 2 transition administrators, program administrators for the state of Florida, and I cover most of the transition services from 14 to generally 21 to 24, so that 14 to 24 age range. And we go over our pre-employment transition services with the students a lot, and I'll explain those later. But you can contact me here at jesse.riddle@vr.fldoe.org for my contact information. I am located in Leesburg and in Lake County, but we cover the entire state. And there are offices throughout the entire state of Florida. So if you go to our website, rehabworks.org, you can locate your local office that way. So kind of what we'll cover today is I'll go over, who we are as an agency and who we help and how we can help, along with an introduction for our services for the youth and adult services as well, but to also how to become a customer of vocational rehab. How can you apply and what's the process? So a little bit about vocational rehab. We're a federal state program that helps eligible individuals with any physical, mental disabilities. And the main goal is to find, get, keep, or advance in employment. So even those working already can receive our services depending on what they're looking for. And of course, most of our state funding or federal funding comes from the feds. It's like 80% and then 20 states. So our budget is close to about $200 million every year. So that we have lots of money to help individuals with disabilities here in Florida. So throughout the state, we have different units that kind of oversee the different services that we offer. And so we have administrators and different program leads for those. So Brandy Boyer-Rutherford and I work in the employment programs unit, and we specialize in the pre-employment transition services for students. Of course, we also have a general and supported employment administrator for those services. We have self-employment and supported in self-employment. Generally, those are under the self-employment administrator. We do work with those with a ticket to work or Social Security. So we have processes in place to help those with receiving SSI and SSDI benefits. And there are processes for that. So we have a unit for that to help administrate the processes and also get reimbursement for funds spent on those with SSI and SSDI. We don't want to leave out our deaf and hard of hearing and deaf blind individuals. So we have a whole unit for that, to where they cover the different services that are available, sign language interpreting, and programs that they offer throughout the state. We have an independent living program administrator as well. So we have a kind of a separate program that's funded differently, but we oversee it here at the state, and the different independent living centers administer those services throughout the different counties in Florida. And we also have our business relations services, to where we have business representatives that are working directly with businesses and our VR counselors and staff, more so versus our customers. So they try to get those customers on a different level by starting with the employer, and then we've kind of go through our caseloads and look for those that match those business requests. So we try to hit everything on different ends, so we're not missing any person out there that might fit a particular area. But who we help, so we do help anyone that, regardless of their type of disability, they may be referred to us. So we only work with people with disabilities. So if you don't have a disability, we wouldn't be able to serve you unless we could do an evaluation and there's a diagnosis for something that's keeping you from working, or standing in the way that you might need accommodations to get a job, keep a job, or even if you already have a job, that you're able to keep that or maybe help advance in that employment depending on your situation. And so we do work with the Florida businesses, as I mentioned earlier. So the different businesses out there, we don't have like direct relationships with everybody. So if there is a business that is interested with working with our vocational rehab clients, we can work with them to help recruit and hire and promote, or even do training with those businesses that might be interested or don't have a lot of experience working with people with disabilities. So we have several different programs that could get them in the door to do some like on the job training or direct employment services with them. So we want to make sure that we work with as many businesses as possible that have openings or needs to hire people with disabilities. So VR in the community, we cover the entire state from the Panhandle to Key West, so anywhere in between in our borders. And so throughout the state, we have different programs that are available. As not all of these programs listed here are available in every county, but I'll just kind of go over an idea of what we do with each of these programs that are a little bit larger out there. So our project search, we have close to 40 or 50 sites in the state of Florida where we work with different businesses, and our high school students that have maybe deferred their diploma would work in one of these programs, to where they're still technically enrolled in high school, but they go to work at a business host site and they do rotations throughout the day. And the main goal is to get permanent employment at the end of the year through that program. But they'll do 3 different rotations in different departments. Usually they're larger facilities like a hospital, a hotel, just larger places that need or have the ability to accommodate 10 people at a time over their landscape of their host business site. So that's really a great program for our high school students. It has a lot of success in the community, but it's only in so many counties throughout the state. We have our high school high tech program. This is administered in high school, so they take this during the school day, and it's all based off those STEM programs. So it's all looking for those tech and mathematics, and it has a 99% graduation rate with the students that are enrolled in that program. So it's very successful for students that are enrolled in high school high tech and eventually move on to graduate. One of our other ones that has gained a lot of traction in the last few years is our inclusive post-secondary education. This program is available for students that have left the high school and graduated. They have to be at least 18, and they're looking to go to college. So this is specifically for those with intellectual disabilities, to where they sign up for a course. We have 30 different colleges and tech schools throughout the state that participate in these programs, and they audit classes generally for 1.5 to 2 years. It could be more, but most programs are about 2 years long, to where they go and audit classes and they get certifications in that career field of whatever class they're taking, or that career field that they're going into. So they get certifications, and we place them in jobs right after as well. So electrical work, I mean, there's so many occupations out there, but it gives those that may not be able to be an electrician, but they can go and get a certification and do some other work in that field and get those small, try to remember the name of, but the small certifications or the individual certifications that they can get instead of the full certification. We have our building readiness and construction knowledge, our BRIC program. And so this is focused in the construction fields over on the coast. And during the summer, they'll usually have a lot of businesses in Brevard County that will come together and do some internships with the students over the course of the summer to be able to learn more about the construction industry. So warehousing, construction sites, those kind of things. So. But we have other programs as well, but those are kind of like the highlights and the larger ones. And so getting into our youth, we do have services for the youth starting at ages 14 and up. So if you have an individual, so that could be middle school, as usually is where they can start. But of course, high school is the larger population of who we serve in that age range. But starting at age 14, students can connect with vocational rehab to obtain services through the pre-employment transition services and start exploring their careers and preparing for work and in the adult life. So students can be referred by anybody really. So if they have an application, they can have their themselves can submit it, their parents, their school, just depends, their counselor, therapist, doctor, a friend, anybody can send a referral to us. But they would work through those services while they're attending high school. Most of the services are done after high school through evenings, weekends, that kind of timeline, or summer breaks. So what are those 5 pre-employment transition services? So these are the general categories that are available through the Work Innovation and Opportunity Act. So we have the job exploration counseling, we have post-secondary education counseling, work readiness training, work-based learning experiences, and self-advocacy training and youth peer mentoring. So I'll just touch on these just for a moment and go over what might be available here. So with job exploration counseling, we don't have a direct service with that. This is kind of going over opportunities, evaluations, and talking to the individual about what they want to do in a career after high school. We have our post-secondary education counseling. So this, we have several services under here to where we added campus tours. So individuals can go and view campuses and learn about what it is to attend a campus, and they'll go through the different programs at the school. So they'll go to the financial aid office, the disability office, maybe they'll go to the health department, they'll go to the sports and rec. So wherever they want to go, and they do this in small groups on campus so that they can participate and learn more about the different options for post-secondary after high school. So we also have the work readiness training. So this is we have a 20-hour class that they can take to learn more about preparing for work, how to interview, how to dress, how to answer those questions, learning about the ADA and accommodations, what questions can be asked during interviews, safety, things like that. So it's a 20-hour class that they learn to prepare for a job. And we also have travel training under that, so students can learn to take the bus. They can learn how to schedule their maybe an Uber or their door-to-door transportation for the services they're receiving. So they'll get one-on-one training with the job coach to learn how to travel train. Our most popular one, of course, is our work-based learning experience. So this is where students get hands-on experience working at a site, usually for 3 to 6 weeks at a time. They'll do an agreement and they'll go work at a host business site, getting paid for that work experience. And so these are all exploratory. They are looking at just learning about the job, learning about the work sites. They're going to be working as an employee of that business, but it's to find out what they like and don't like for work. So we're not focused on one particular career. They can switch different jobs. They can go from culinary to construction to the health field. So whatever they have an interest in, we can set up a work site for them. We also have for employers that they can do interviews with students. So the student will interview the employer to learn more about their job, what their career does, what does it take to get that job, what kind of pay does it, or what kind of pay, trying to explain that, what kind of pay it does pay for that job. And then we have job shadowing as well as one of the other services. So students can job shadow and they can walk the site. They can learn more about what the industry does and what their job site does for services. So they can tour that in a small group with others for a couple hours, depending on the location. And then lastly, we have our self-advocacy training and youth peer mentoring. So students learn about advocating, from the basics to really going out and advocating for themselves. So there's 3 different courses for that: the self-awareness, efficacy, and determination. So 3 different courses that they can take. And then we also have our youth peer mentoring. So they can get one-on-one services with a mentor, usually no more than 6 years of their age. So that way they can work with a peer to learn more about the world of work and how to advocate for themselves. So how does somebody qualify for those 5 pre-employment services? So WIOA defines a student with a disability with the following criteria. So anybody between the ages of 14 and 21, they have to be enrolled in secondary or post-secondary education. So that could be middle school, high school, post-secondary institution, technical school, could be a GED program, Job Corps, things like that qualify as an educational institution. And then also have a documented disability. That could be an IEP, 504, or some form of other medical documentation, or a letter from their school indicating that they receive accommodations through their location. So as long as they continue to make or meet those criteria, they can receive services. So even students that are in college can receive these services while attending up till they're age out or they're no longer enrolled in school. So especially like college students, maybe 19, 20, they can still work toward their degree and then maybe get some work experience to help get that basic understanding of the job and get some experience for the resume so that when they do finish, they have some experience and hopefully they'll get hired a lot quicker than they would without doing these services. So, and then of course we have our traditional VR services. So I'll go through the eligibility process a little bit later and we'll talk about how somebody could apply. So, but generally 14 and up, if they have a disability, can apply for a program, and then our counselors will talk to them about what's the best approach and how they could go about applying for services. And so for traditional vocational rehab, they could go to our website to get the form. They can call their office. However they get the form through their school or in person, they can fill out a form, and you can find that on our website. And they'll complete that form and send it into the office to get started with the services. So who is eligible for services? So at vocational rehab, when you're in the traditional program, in order to be considered eligible for the program, we have to have some sort of physical and or mental disability that results in a significant barrier to employment. And you need our services to get a job, find, keep, or advance in that particular job. So if you have the disability and you need our services, most people qualify for services, depending on their disability, of course, but it's rare that we turn an individual away for help if they have a disability and they're looking for work. So we always encourage people to apply, even if they may not have a disability documented. We can do evaluations to maybe get that learning disability or medical diagnosis that maybe they sense they have, but they're not sure. We can get that and then make them eligible. And of course, always recommend just applying though. For those that already have disabilities, so SSI for their own disability, not a child that has maybe received benefits due to a death of a parent, that doesn't qualify. They have to have their own disability for that. So, but if you already have SSDI or SSI for your disability, you're presumed eligible for the services. So you kind of skip a little bit of the process. We Social Security has already determined you eligible, so that process is a lot more stringent than ours is. So if they say good, we're good. And then, of course, those that already have benefits can get assistance with learning more about how their benefits work through the work incentives and planning assistance. So it's a short process where we send out the referral to an agency and they go over the benefits, and then they print out a report on how their benefits work, how much they can earn, and how much they would be able to make before losing those benefits. Or if they're looking to do some trial work, they have the trial work period, and they'll go over kind of how that trial work period works. So in case they have SSDI already, they can ensure that they can work for a couple months and kind of try it out before they completely lose their benefits. So that's always a good thing if people aren't sure if they can go back to work. And we, as counselors, explain that to them. And so a brief description of the services. There's a lot of services that our agency can do. Of course, this is just a general overview of those, but usually the most used. And so VR can do quite a bit of stuff besides buying a house, buying a car, but almost everything else is generally available if it meets their needs and employment goals. So we don't want to say it's an open ticket for purchasing everything or providing services. Everything is based off the individual's needs and needs to go to work. So we as the agency provide counseling and guidance. So we like to make sure that we provide information and resources available so that they can reach their employment goals, and go over any evaluations, and just throughout the whole process talk about what is important, and just go over guiding the individuals to help them make the choice on what they're looking to do for employment. We can do training and education after high school. So VR has the capabilities to fund programs for individuals. So if you have a freshly new graduate that's looking to go to school in August, and they're looking to have assistance with paying for their financial expenses, maybe their tuition and books, that is a possibility with us, so they can get that degree and then go to work. Of course, we minus any grants or scholarships that they have, but it is a possibility for students and adults to get that service to pay for that education. We have vocational evaluations and like psychological evaluations that we can do. So if they're not sure about what they're wanting to do or their disability, we can plan those vocational evaluations to give them more options of what they're capable of or what we recommend for employment based off their skills and aptitudes and abilities. We have technology for individuals. So if there's an individual that may need hearing aids or some kind of technology to obtain employment or maintain employment, maybe it's a listening device, it could be a wheelchair, it could be an iPad for somebody that may not be able to communicate that well. I mean, we have rehab engineers that go over the referral and what they're looking for and make recommendations for technology for employment. So very important that those individuals get the assistance they need. Our main goal is job placement. So once all services have been completed, we want to make sure that we help find a job for those individuals in the community, which could involve job coaching, on-the-job training, and other assessments and site accommodations needed. Even for those individuals that have significant disabilities, we have supported and customized employment available for them. So if they need a little bit extra time, we keep their case open for longer periods of time. We can do medical and psychological assessments and do treatment for those. So maybe somebody that needs counseling for 6 months and medications, that might be an option to help stabilize them in order to go back to work. And then, of course, transition them into paying for that after their case is closed. So we want to make sure that they're stable enough to take care of their medical needs before we stop treatment. Of course, we help with the resumes and portfolios. We can help with obtaining identification, so birth certificates or identification to go to work, filling out forms, that kind of thing. And of course, travel training for those that might need assistance learning how to get to and from work. So a quick overview of the process. I know I'm running out of time here. but a quick overview of the process from start to finish. So an individual make a referral to the agency, and they would go ahead and contact the agency. They can be over the phone, in person, email. They can do it electronically through the school portal. If the high schools, middle schools, or schools have access to our WARE system to send the referral electronically, they're able to do that. However, you can get the referral with the customer's confirmation and approval. You can get it to us in the office to start the process. Once somebody applies for VR service, they'll meet with a counselor. Once they've signed their application for services, you'll have 60 days to make an eligibility determination for services, saying, hey, you're eligible for services. 99% of the time, most people are eligible. Of course, there's an occasional few that don't meet the criteria. So after they've gone through the preliminary assessment with their counselor, they've signed their application, they make that eligibility determination within 60 days, and then you move to plan development status. So we have up to 90 days to develop a plan for their employment goal and services to reach that employment goal. And so throughout that process, once that plan is signed, then the individuals will participate in those services. And then eventually, once they're ready for a job, we'll be able to provide job placement services. And then, of course, once they're stable enough to maintain that job, we close their case depending on the type of case they've had, either just employment services or supported employment. They can have 90 days to over 180 days of supports before their case is closed with our agency. So anywhere along that line they need extra help, they reach out to us and say, I need additional assistance. Their job coach can provide assistance. And then once they're successfully employed, we'll close their case. And of course, at any time, there's no limit on applying for services as well. So even if you've received our services in the past, or 10 years ago, or even if we've closed your case 6 months ago, you can come back and reapply and just do that as long as you need. 14 and up, so there's no cap on that. My oldest has been 83, so it is possible that if they need services, you can still get it. And then we just have a quick success story. So Uriel was diagnosed with autism and referred to vocational rehab, received services during COVID, had a couple attempts at different jobs due to the situation there, but eventually completed 80 hours of hands-on training with a work experience through Hyatt, and was eventually offered a permanent position. But we have thousands of people that find successful employment every year through vocational rehab. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Any questions for Jesse? I had one, Jesse. If somebody is employed, but perhaps not in a profession that's really giving them a sustainable income, or it's below what their capacity is and so forth, will your services still, are they still eligible for your services, or is it only till they get any kind of job? Is there any distinction there?
So yes, they could be eligible to reapply or apply for services. Everything we're doing, we're looking for stable careers. So just because you're working at McDonald's, but you have an educational goal of maybe being a teacher, we want to support that higher degree. We want to make
Okay.
sure that higher career of employment. So yes, McDonald's may be the end all for that person, but if they're wanting to pursue some sort of other career field that's going to be more self-supporting, money-wise, financially, and medically, insurance and stuff like that, we want to shoot for that career versus just a job.
Okay.
So.
And you did mention learning disability. So if somebody has a student who they suspect has dyslexia or some other learning disability, correct me if I'm wrong, but you all, depending on the circumstances, may well cover the costs for doing that evaluation?
Yes. So if they would come to us and maybe they had a history of it but never been diagnosed, they could apply for services, and we, talk to the counselor about what, their problems are, their disability, and then we can do a psychological evaluation. And so most individuals that fit the criteria in the DSM-5 which is there's a huge book that have a lot of diagnoses in there that would qualify for our services. So generally, if they fall in that book, they're probably eligible for services with us.
Great. And Pamela Joe asked, she said, did you say 83 or 23? I think it was 83, right?
83, yeah. So I had a lady that came in and she needed hearing aids. She was still working. She wanted to keep working, and so she was at the Dollar General, but she had problems hearing customers and the intercom. So we were able to obtain. We sent her for a hearing evaluation. We purchased her hearing aids, and we were able to get those to her within a couple months, and she kept her job and eventually retired. I think about a year or so later, but she was able to get that support through us to maintain her employment. So
very good. Well, thank you again, Jesse. Really appreciate sharing all this great information. I encourage all of you, if you have adult learners who you feel may have a disability, and there's a broad range of disabilities there, you know, and that includes psychological disabilities, right? You said psychological assessments.
physical, mental,
mental.
even orthopedic. So if somebody has orthopedic problems back, maybe they've worked in construction but no longer can, they could come in, maybe we could do assessments with them and retrain for a different career. So
Yeah. So
always options out there. Always apply if you're not sure, or talk to them about applying. It's the better option.
Right. Okay, very good. Well, thank you again for joining us and sharing all this great information.
You're welcome. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to redirect or answer those questions for you if I'm unable to answer those.
Okay, appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. So next up, and we're going to just go into our final session and we'll wrap up for the day. Then the final session is our group discussion, targeted group discussion. So we, and if you can bring that slide up there. There we go. Whoops, not that one. Yeah, here we go. So we like to usually during the Leadership Institute leave a little bit of time for a few subjects that perhaps didn't, you know, have sessions that were dedicated to them. And ones that you feel, you know, were worthy of discussion for. So for those of you who completed our little pre-Leadership Institute survey, we did ask for your feedback as to what you might like to talk about in some small group breakout sessions. So the student assessment and data management and building local collaborations and partnerships sort of rose to the top in terms of the two that folks were most interested in talking about, followed by teaching digital literacy skills and fund development. So what we're going to do is two 20-minute sessions, and you just select whichever of the topics you're interested in talking about for the first, and then we'll come back just momentarily, and then we'll go into a second session, and then we'll wrap up after that. So here's a few questions here, optional questions to kind of get things started in terms of you know, how are you tackling the subject that you're discussing in your organization, what's worked for you, you know, what are maybe some of the challenges you've had or lessons learned. So this is really meant to be a networking opportunity to just learn from one another. So are there any questions? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Stephanie. So you're going to bring up the little, okay. So can you walk us through how people go ahead and select what room they want to be in? We can't hear you, so you're on mute, Stephanie.
There you go. Sorry, it was got too many tabs up here. I believe, I'm not sure if it's showing the screen to assign. I think they should come up. There are 3 to join. We've got student assessment and the data management, building local collaborations and partnerships, and teaching digital literacy skills. All of those rooms should be open, and I do see a few have already moved to some of those rooms. I'm not 100% sure how to join. I'm assuming it would be on the bottom menu where it says breakout rooms, and you're able to select from there.
Okay, so yeah, that you should have a box. You just scroll down to the bottom of that box and there'll be 3 opportunities to join. Okay, very good. So we'll go ahead and go into the rooms, select the one that you'd like, and then we'll come back here in 20 minutes. Thank you.
Because when I first started, which was, I've been here 12 years, and we didn't have a lot of collaboration and partners necessarily, because people come and go, organizations come and go. So sometimes it's difficult to do that. But I found that our fundraiser, we have a fundraiser every year. And it's called Kiss the Pig. I don't know if you've heard of that. But we ask people in the community, different organizations like Publix, they work with us, and Watson Clinic, and we try to get an employee from those organizations. The school board, our Polk County School Board. So they, we ask them to be candidates. So they have to raise money for us, and whoever, of course, raises the most gets to kiss the pig. And
I love that.
Way before COVID, we had the beginning, and they had about 6 weeks to help us raise money. And then and we would have a finale, in one of our advisory board members has a huge backyard. And so we would have that and a dinner. It's very casual. And also, focusing on kissing whoever wins, it gets the excitement comes up, and they really like to do that. We've had some cute pigs and some that weren't so cute. Anyway, it brings in a lot of people and a lot of organizations. So that had been going on before I even started. And of course, when COVID came, that was the end of that. So we had to stop. But what we did, and using the digital approach and social media, we had a 2-week, we had candidates, but we did it online through like I said, social media and our website. And we raised quite a bit, but we didn't have, of course, the finale like we had before, until like 3 years ago. After COVID, we had a small group. Now, before, we had maybe 200 people come, and then after we had started doing the digital, we had maybe 20 of our candidates, and they might bring a friend, at the local country club, because one of our members actually was a member of the country club. So we didn't have to pay a lot of money out for that. In fact, I don't think we paid anything. Anyway, that's kind of grown. So our last one, we were able to raise a lot more. And I started getting employees from Publix calling. I had the sheriff's department. They sent us a young lady who was just starting. She's bilingual, and she was going to be in marketing, but she felt insecure about, going in front of people and not knowing English that well. So, and I said, oh, sheriff's department? I don't know how, but the word gets out. So we bringing in all these other partners. That was just a thought I had from what we've been doing. And the purpose, really, I mean, it is to get the word out, but not necessarily, and of course, raise funds, but it wasn't necessarily an approach that we really decided on. It was because we had to do it a different way with COVID.
What was the name of the speaker?
Oh, Diane.
Wait.
She's asking for your name, hon.
Diane Oropesa.
And can you put in the chat your email? I would love to connect with you.
And
Oh,
then
that's a great
the name of
idea.
your program, and your email. Yes, I agree.
Nice.
Are you talking to Diane?
Yes.
Okay. I'm with Reed Lakeland in Lakeland, Central Florida area. And my email is Reed Lakeland, ReadLakeland, Reed Lakeland at AOL.com.
Awesome. That's a great idea to ask for emails. Does anybody else have other collabs that they got involved with?
I was going to mention we just hosted our annual statewide conference, and we usually do a silent auction as part of the program, and a lot of those are, you know, donation based. You were just mentioning a fundraiser, Diane, and that was a great way to get a little bit of the community involved. We had some of those local partners and then also national. Let's say, you know, we're close to some of the, I mean, I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale, so I say Seminole Hard Rock, but and but now we're up in Orlando, and they have some over here in Tampa and different things, but you know, they do tons of giveaways and ways to engage people, and almost kind of do maybe raffles or things like that as a gift or a prize to get involved when we talk about engagement and how to, you know, provide that value and maybe go a little extra step beyond, but doesn't come out of your pocket. We found that to be really successful, and people enjoyed it as well.
So it sounds like, in a
That's
way,
good.
in addition to getting that funding, you're also branching out and meeting people in the community. Or is it only statewide, or do you, I know you have had Disney in the past. Does it go any further? I don't know.
There are some national companies that get involved. Let's
That's
say,
nice.
yeah, Southwest Airlines is one of
Oh,
our
that's right. The
sponsors as
airlines
well.
are our
Yeah, so we get
sponsors.
to raffle
That's a
off
good
a couple
one.
of tickets. You know, Universal Studios is a big one. They give us a couple of tickets. You know, and it goes farther than that. Even if you wanted to go to, you know, events that I've worked in the past, like when we do tabling, and we have local businesses come in and also share their resources, but it creates kind of like a little festival feel for people to, you know, the community to come in and experience it. But the Dunkin', you know, those types of national companies, as much as D&I was a big kind of keyword coming up, you know, corporate social responsibility is also a huge one. And so in some part, these companies have a little bit of a responsibility to pay it back to the community in different ways like that. So they're also always looking for ways to get involved. And we had a speaker yesterday from All In that compared a little bit of what policymakers understood versus companies and employers that really saw the need for adult education and how it impacted their employees and things like that. So there's a little bit of a, you know, employers get it a little bit more because they deal with some of these issues hands-on. So I think they're maybe even a little bit more open to supporting these causes and potentially getting involved, and then, you know, being able to flourish that relationship even farther for collaboration or a partnership in the future.
I have a question for you, but before I ask my question, on my drive to the coalition's conferences, I typically would have a presentation that I had been approved for. And I would stop at Starbucks on the way just because it's fast, stop for a restroom break on the travel. And I would literally just ask the manager, I tell them I'm going to do this presentation at the conference. I tell them who it is, and they would like give me cups to donate. So, or
yeah, exactly.
basket, anything.
Great.
So one of my questions though is with the economy as it is now, like I have colleagues, even colleagues that tell me they have to work 2 and 3 jobs, and they know other colleagues of theirs that are working 2 and 3 jobs. And I have students, I teach online for a program, a council, a literacy council on the other side of the state, because they were the only ones I found early on in COVID that were online and doing something. All the ones in my area, I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I even was calling board members because I couldn't get anyone to answer a phone. And that's when I started looking for online. But I was just thinking, because of all that, I mean, I actually have working mothers that can't even come to class anymore. So I managed to get them apps to try to do, put a time, a little time here and there, 15, 20 minutes. But my question is, are we having problems with that, with the situation with the price increases in Florida? Like, I don't know. I didn't even ask this year at Starbucks because I was afraid they were going to say no because of the situation.
And I mean, maybe that's the worst part of it, is that they can say no, but the best we can do is ask. You know, it's especially the larger corporations that have some of the funds, and they put it in their budget to be able to donate and to, you know, get their tax write-offs or whatever it might be, you know, charitable contributions, things like that. And some companies even have, you know, personal missions that might be supporting some of these issues specifically. You know, a lot of companies nowadays too, because employees' priorities are changing, and you know, they want to be home, they want to be with their family, or if they're pursuing, you know, higher education, different things like that, they usually will offer programs that, you know, will pay maybe 50% of a certificate or something like that. But we need to ask them the question, if you're willing to get involved on that level, like, why not, for the people that are struggling? And it could truly make a difference in giving them a path for a career and, you know, sustainable work that can benefit their life. And not just higher education, you know, and maybe we could get there down the line, but if this is a small, or, you know, investment that we can make per student that would change their lives and make such an impact and bring them, you know, employee retention, so it's giving them more money back in their pockets, you know, ultimately they're investing in their employees and the community, you know, as a whole. And if they want to do, you know, job fairs or things like that, where, you know, they're able to present some of their information, because it always needs to be a little bit of a give and take. You know, sometimes if they're doing a sponsorship or something, they need to have a social post, or, you know, something that, you know, you're thanking them and you're also promoting a little bit of their services. And it's sometimes somewhat of a trade, but then it, you know, makes it a great partnership.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think one way to reach people who cannot come to class is have more locations in more isolated places. Just have more places that offer the services. I found that this works for me. Just start, if it's not a big classroom, just start one location nearby where the people live. Even if it's not a lot of students, you offer them that of flexibility to be able to take a class.
Thank you.
I've also had some places, like, let's say in a professional association, and we'll host a meeting for nonprofits, and we've had the space donated to us as well, kind of like in kind. So we don't necessarily have to pay to rent someplace out, but, you know, they might be willing, if there's a space in their schedule that you would be able to hold a class, you know, every week, you know, say, or if there's a community room at a library or something that you can, you know, secure for those classes, that might be a viable option. So you don't have to kind of put so many funds to it as well.
That's a great idea. I did try doing that at a library, and they wanted to charge for the rooms. So maybe if I tell them, well, this is, you know, like volunteering, which is what I was doing then, and they ended up giving me the room. I don't know how I proved it, but I was really surprised, because I just happened to go to a Toastmaster group there, and they were paying for their room, but their room had, you know, it had, you know, technology and all that in it. Whereas the room I ended up getting, I didn't need it. Any other collabs? I would imagine a lot of you have a lot more collabs than I have. So I think everyone's tired.
I'm not sure what the collab is.
Oh, I'm just saying collab for collaborations.
Oh, okay.
With other companies, other
I
groups.
think that, yeah, one thing that I really want to develop more, and I'm very excited about, is energizing the young people. I have a lot of college students, university students, immigrant backgrounds. They love to come and tutor. So I feel like this is untapped potential. High school students who need college hours also are great tutors for the younger kids. So I want to work on, using more young people as tutors, because this opens them to this cultural experience, and it's really great for them. They love it. So any college around, private university, schools, I intend to contact for next year, because I just love working with the young people. and the students love them too. So and another thing that when you mentioned about rooms, I had a conversation with someone from Blue Cross Blue Shields, and they have actually facilities in many places, and they offered their rooms because they want to give back to the community and want to do something. So a lot of companies and corporations might have uh, conference rooms or facilities in many places, and that will allow for that flexibility to have a class in many small locations, which is a lot of management, but at the same time, you help that specific community. It's close to the people. And also the corporations feel good about giving back and doing something for the community. And I read an article recently about corporations being now the biggest funders because of these new missions they have to. I'm new in the nonprofit business. I just read that article, but I see it more and more that corporations and businesses want to have such programs where they can help communities. So I think they will be the biggest support for nonprofits like us, who we kind of rely on grants, but we shouldn't. We should involve the local businesses and corporations and communities, because they will see the result right away. They'll see better workers and better communities. So sorry for talking too long.
100%. No, we're good. I think we're reaching our 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pop us back into our regular meetings.
Okay.
And we'll go to the
Okay. Well, welcome back. I hope everybody's coming back. You had an option to come back or not. So let's see here.
breakout rooms are closing, so they should be coming in.
It looks like there's still a few people in the breakout rooms.
Yeah, they're closing in about 60 seconds, so people should be coming back.
Oh, okay. 'Cause ours had it at a different time. It said it had already closed. So, okay. So we'll give it just another minute here.
Let's see if I can.
And can you go ahead and put the evaluation in the chat now, so that if people want to grab that before they go into the next session, that'd be good. Okay. So we got one more breakout group. I hope that was informative. We had a few little technical issues in the one I was in. Karen wasn't able to join us verbally, but I think we just had some technical problems. Let's go ahead and bring up the next round of options here. And please, before you adjourn for the day, please make sure to click on the link that Stephanie's putting in the chat here, or go ahead and use this QR code. We really need your feedback on today's sessions, as well as the Leadership Institute. So do you want to pull up the next round now, Stephanie? Okay, so our options this time are, so why are there people in it already? That's odd. Okay, well, because these were the people that were in it last time, is that it? Can't hear you, Stephanie, if you're talking.
I believe so. I can see if I can close
So-
all of them and restart. Sorry.
Okay. We don't want folks to go back into the same session.
Right. Just a moment, sorry.
Maya, you said we need a different group. What do you mean by that?
Because we were already in the collaboration session for the first round, so.
Oh, right, yeah,
we
yeah,
can collab
yeah.
again.
Yeah, so she's trying to modify that so that we'll clear the names out, and then you can go ahead and select a different one.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. So the options, again, are building local collaborations and student assessment, if you'd like to do one of those that you didn't do the first time, and then fund development is the third opportunity this time. So go ahead and select your sessions, and we'll set the timer for 20 minutes.
Okay, and still, I don't know how to get into that because I don't see
Which one would you like to go to? I can go ahead and assign you.
the assessment.
Sounds good.
I think I need help too. I'm not.
Where are you going? No problem. Which room? Which room would you like to go to?
Whatever one's more convenient, either one or both are good.
Alrighty, there you go.
Thank you.
Of course. Arlene, anybody else need help getting into a room?
Yes.
Happy to help.
So what was the second one?
The student assessment and data management? Or the fund development?
Fund development.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Happy to help.
Okay, good. So welcome back, everybody. And we are just about to wrap up here. I just wanted to thank you all for participating in our institute over the last 2 days. I want to thank Stephanie for helping to coordinate it, and I hope it's been a good experience for you. We would ask you to take a few minutes to please complete our assessment. We really appreciate your feedback, and Stephanie is putting that into the chat right now, that link. She had the QR code up a little bit earlier. There you go. So it's on SurveyMonkey. So if you can take a few minutes and let us know any feedback that you'd like to share. And then I think that's it. So unless there's anything else, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But thanks again for participating, and look forward to working with you. We are sort of wrapping up our fiscal year here, so we got some new things planned at FLC in our new fiscal year once we get our new state grant. So we'll keep you posted on that. Otherwise, have a great summer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.